the local Africans really well, and so this,
And vice versa. It was on both
yeah, and,
sides.
and and this started heating and between the two population, and obviously that exacerbated the whole situation when the war came in. So, and by the end of the Liberian War, in fact, it became tribal war because the Mandingo people were getting slaughtered left, right, and center. They still talk about it because
Yeah,
it's
what gets me is this, right? People always make it seem like this first one. There was never any such people called American Liberians. That's an invented term by the Europeans. There's nowhere in history has anybody called themselves American Liberians. The only thing you might get in Liberia, you might call themselves Congo people.
yeah, that's what we are. We're Niger Congo people,
Yeah,
in that
because
region.
they say
You know.
they're Congo people, and the Congo people they always the native Liberians call people that came from
Yeah, they came from Congo, some of them, like, and they become early they're fishermen, they're fishing communities on the whole coast of West Africa that came from the heart of the forest in Congo. And that's why people don't understand, West African, in general, is a very complicated territory, it's a very new habitant territory compared to the other part of the
Yeah, but
continent.
let me get out. Let me get in here and speak, bro. Let me speak.
Mm,
The
mm.
thing is,
No, but I was talking, Carla, but you interrupting, bro. So when I finish,
you interrupted me. I was
no, but
making
it
a
was
point.
my, Carla, I think it was
I
my
haven't
turn
had a
to
chance
speak.
to talk yet. I
Yeah,
mean, I
but when
like
I
what you're
finish, you
saying.
can come on, or you want me to come after you then?
Yeah, come in. Let me finish what I'm saying. Then you can have the floor all you want. I was saying that about the American Liberian term right now. People don't understand that most of the so-called men from America married indigenous women. They
They
had
did.
it was like that. So intermarried. It wasn't like they were separate. And this girl Jeanette about there was Americans. America had no. In fact, the country that had the most connections with Liberia was actually Germany. It wasn't the United States. The United States neglected Liberia because of American racism. America was more interested in expanding Hawaii and Alaska and everything like that. They didn't care about Africa. So this idea, people overestimate America. America was not the power that people think it is, the influence they think it is. World looked at America at the time as another backwater country where maybe you can make money. America didn't start really popping off until the 20th century. So at this time, America was on the same footing as Brazil, people and everything. America didn't have the capability or the know-how to govern a colony in Africa. That's why only 25 years, they said we could do this on our own because America wasn't doing just. America wasn't doing shit. We didn't give them anything. They asked for 25 years, help us out over here. America didn't have the means or capability to do it. So these people, these exceptional black men and women came together and said, let's form our own country. What I'm trying to say, my point I'm trying to make is this. Uh, there's never any such people called American Liberian. Everybody was called Congo people, whether you came.
Hello.
Hello, Carla is gone.
Okay.
Um,
Guys, can you check on Twitter
yeah,
the sentence of they will put a
yeah.
military
So,
coup?
Kaiser, the problem in Liberia is that sold them as slaves, you know, and basically this were slaves brought back to the people, exactly to the people that sold them
Eh,
as slaves.
Guys,
Because in Liberia, we have the tribe that they call the Kru tribe, right?
can you go?
The reason
Can
why the white man called them the Kru is because of their cruelty. There's a say, the white man got a saying, anyway that the Kru are, there's no God. That's how evil they
you,
were. And the way they used to tie you, that's how the white man learned how to tie people, their system.
wait,
And they're still there in Liberia. They're one of the
Yeah, the Crew tribe. The
fa-
Crew tribe.
yes, yes.
Now let me
They
say
they
something,
they
bro.
they, they
I
were
got some
they
Crew
were
people over
when you talk
here.
about transatlantic slavery, you're talking about mainly those coastal tribes, and the crew were one of the well known because
okay,
what happened is they did not want it to be slaved. They made an agreement with the
wait,
Europeans.
wait,
We will actually work with you guys, but don't touch our people. And they have a certain tattoo on their face, right in the foreheads, where between your eyes, like a
uh,
plus tattoo. That is to show the pirate or the slave catchers, that they are belong to the crew. not
Ka-
to be touched.
Yeah, the crew.
Well,
But
That's how the crew survived.
Kaiser,
They
Kaiser.
marked their
yes,
bodies so they wouldn't be slaves, so they sell other Africans out.
Ka-
It's like
exactly.
that
And
to
they're
this
still
day.
there. They still practice similar things, and so.
I,
But however, this where the this where the people that existed in the coast, and they're
it,
still there. And unfortunately, yeah, go on, Carla. I'll come up after you because you got your
okay,
line
so
back.
what I'm saying like this, and I don't mean to bash my crew people or whatever like that, because a lot of them are civilized now. They're not ooga
Of
boogers
course, yeah.
anymore. They're civilized now, and I got crew people that I love in Liberia and whatnot. They understand their wave. But the bottom line, there's some crew that still take pride in that. They still break top. We would never say no. You weren't slave because you sold
Nope.
your soul to the white man. And a lot of crew people working with the British. They work with their CIA.
wait, Kaiser, are you here?
Yeah,
Yeah, I, I,
yeah.
I don't
One
know.
thing.
I don't know
Go
if this
ahead.
news. I don't know if this news is true, but how breaking news on Twitter. There's a miracle coup happening in the Republic of Congo right now. I don't know if it's true or not. If you go to
Oh,
Africa
Congo
Disaster on
Brazzaville.
Twitter, they're saying the major
Mhm.
coup is happening in Congo right now. I don't know if it's true or not. I just
Yeah.
saw it just now.
Yeah, I've heard something
Uh,
about Brazzaville having a
and
mutiny.
do you know what I saw on the Sierra Leone social media also yesterday that
Oh, it's
they,
a
they say the
mess.
American government is actually trying to get the Sierra Leone president overthrown. They're trying to send mercenaries or sponsor something like that. We don't want to we don't want to especially Sierra Leone, just leave it as it is. We don't want no coup there. We don't want no problems. You know, we,
But the coup in
we already had
Congo
enough coups in Anglophone Africa, and it didn't change anything. If anything, it make things worse. So we just,
so
we don't want this,
so
man.
for
This
the
is too much.
Democratic
Yeah,
Congo coup, who's gonna take over? Because Kaiser's point is it true, Kaiser?
I've looked into it. I'm not seeing enough information for me to
No, it's
to
on
say
Twitter.
anything.
Go
So
to this. It's a Twitter page. You go to. I just type
okay,
in the chat.
let Carlos carry on speaking while Kaiser look at that. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Let
about
me
this
do
you
some.
like.
situation with this missionary, right? And I was in Cape Mount earlier this year, right? And I'll be honest with you, right? I'll be honest with you, right? I had a good time in Nana's Lodge and everything like that. Me and the wife, and a few people, we had a good time, whatnot. But on the way back, when I went to the old Vi town and whatnot, the first time I had that eerie feeling. The people didn't seem like they were that friendly. I went to the fishing where they have the fishing boats and everything. I don't know what to think. These guys, man, these guys are some tough guys out there. One of them had a cutlass, a couple had cutlass in their hand. I didn't know what was going on. You know, but I just gave this one guy a death stare. I gave this guy a death stare, and an officer came over and was like, "Okay, you guys can go." But I was looking back at him, and he was looking at me like we was like staring each other in the face, like with that death stare. Anyway, I'm saying to myself, I hope Liberia stays stable. And
Yeah. I think Kala, your internet it's gone a bit weird. But yeah, let's move. Yeah, your internet is we can't hear you.
Yeah,
But let's
but
go
you
ahead
see,
to yeah.
Kaiser, you see what I was saying yes, like what I was talking about yesterday, and
Hmm.
when you had a guy like Caesar that came on, thinking, Muslim people coming to Africa or Islam in Africa only, obviously I know Islam it got their own problem in the continent. There's no doubt about it and its legacy. But when you look at this fake Christianity, this white supremacist that's hiding
Yeah.
under the name of Christ and coming to
Hmm.
Africa, the things that they're doing, I think is actually more dangerous than what the Arabs are doing. Because you don't see the Arab man sending missionaries in Africa, and to
Right.
infiltrate our communities and actually involve in our government and
Okay.
doing, I mean, I think they're creating more
Yeah.
atrocities when they compare the two religions. I think they are actually creating, the
Hmm.
Crusaders are still creating more problem in our continent,
Yeah.
where it's actually more difficult to tackle, compared to the neighbors that we have, that actually have done more, obviously, damage in the continent in terms of trans-Sahara slavery. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Yeah.
No, I see it. I see it. And I want to move on to Dwale as well and
No problem.
UFC. But this is why
Yes.
I'm saying, Africans, we need to have a better quality control. I've noticed because
Yeah.
I'm going to do the show tomorrow on what's happening in Uganda, where uh, Renee Bach, right, a
Yeah.
Mzungu woman coming in, pretending that she's a medical professional. She gets a chance to touch so many kids, right, where she's
Lord.
obviously negatively affected their lives to the point of death. 105 cases reported directly linked to her care. The children didn't make it. And when I keep seeing all this stuff is just the moment is crazy, right? If I go to a UK a volunteering place, right, they do so many checks. You have to go do a CRB to make sure you don't have like any weird stuff, criminal stuff that's related to harming vulnerable people. You've got to go through so much stuff, even working online, right, as an online tutor, which I actually do sometimes, right? You got to go through CRBs and everything. But in Africa, and I'm talking about the whole of Black Africa, unfortunately, what I keep seeing is um, we just let anybody there, right? Anyone can just come in. And like this guy, this missionary coming in there, oh yeah, spreading the word of God. Bro, Africa is already Christian. I don't even know why they're still
Exactly.
missionaries,
Hey,
right?
yo,
That's
look,
what.
check it out. Hey, Kaizo, check this out. Years ago, right? And I
Mm,
warned native Liberians. I said, look, man, and a lot of that listen to me now, but you think a lot of native Liberians believe that the so-called, let's say, I hate the term American Liberians, held them back from the white man because we banned white people from the country. And so they said we missed out on the white people coming here like that. Now they're getting what they want, because they got white people in there now. And they said, this is what we tried to save you from, this freaking nonsense. Missionaries go in there and some of them do good.
Akala, what's happening to your internet, man? Are you using some Liberian internet?
States.
No.
But I don't know what's going on. But I'm gonna make a split number jump off. I'm saying the whole thing is this right now. There's this one guy in Liberia, right? This guy called Gunther Dums. He's an arch nemesis of mine, right? He's a white man, He's been in Liberia since the 70s and whatnot, right? And basically, he's just a troublemaker, He's always stirring up trouble between the American Liberians and like this. And
But that's
he's
what they do. That's what they're there for. That's
yeah.
exactly
So
what
the
they're there
bottom
for.
line is this, and I told my friends, I said, they were like,
Liberians keep taking him out.
Yeah, they're there to infiltrate, to divide between Muslim and Christian, that tribe versus that tribe, that
yeah,
group versus they've been doing the same thing. They've been doing it for years, and they know
right.
that is a really good game, and it always works because we're so dumb and low
But
IQ
why do
people.
Africans fall for it? I know that's what I don't understand. How come Africans can't see the bigger picture? That's what I don't understand. I have a world, but you can't come to me and tell
Education,
me.
lack of education, Carla. The most of the people are not educated or aware of it, and they're not exposed to the stuff that's going on outside. You know that yourself. You've been to Liberia. The average Liberian is more worried about how he's going to put food on the table,
Exactly.
and get from one place to another. But that's why this system is there to keep them, exactly where they are, so they wouldn't have time to actually think beyond, the basics. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing that happened. But places like Liberia and Sierra Leone, the institution that break down after the war, that's what we're suffering. Because the reason why we thrived back in the days, because we're the countries that actually had institutions that actually function in the continent, and we also exported that to other countries, to set up, similar, um, ways and educate their population. And this is how most of the countries in West Africa came up, to where they are today. Unfortunately, we as nations, we were the leaders. Today, we actually are behind due to civil war and coup d'etat. So things have to be explained also to those people that's currently running around. Yeah, yeah, they topple that president there. Let me tell you one thing about military coup in Africa, in West Africa. There's not one time a military coup happened in West Africa where they actually hand over power to civilians. It never happened. It only happened in one place, which is Cape Verde, right? All these other military leaders that came to power, they would cling on until someone else kicked them out, and basically then it turned to chaos. Then obviously by the time a country start building itself again, you actually wish there was no coup at the first place. You know, so this school will start from the military. It will go to the regional. You go to the tribal. You go to this because everyone wants a piece. You know, and the best way they could be represented, it was through democracy, but they forgot about that now, and they've been made to think, for the basics again, because they just see us as basic people. So the reality is, the problem in Africa is our own problems. It's not. I don't think it's only the West. We actually start. The problems start from us
Yeah, we gotta look
because
into ourselves,
we're easily
black.
convinced by outsiders, and we're so welcoming, and we give
Yeah,
stuff for free.
and also we got so much smoke, right? You would think, okay, let's say I would like to see all African countries cherished, right? And by all people. Instead of saying people getting the time to learn about Liberia and Sierra Leone, what these countries meant, what they meant to Africa, what they meant to think. And people come in, oh, they were set up by America, all this white supremacy propaganda, all that is because white people don't want you to think positively about any sort of black country.
No, they do not. They don't understand this. It's only people who are well informed and well educated understand the importance of Sierra Leone and Liberia for the Western African region. In fact, you can actually trace that back to some of the Eastern African countries because, our knowledge was expanded to the region to actually, be able to govern themselves and actually, put things in place for their people. But obviously, over the years, things got worse in the continent where the colonials. I don't think they ever um, basically. I don't think they ever left in a way.
No, you
Because
never left.
after a while, if someone comes in and do the right thing, and they put another military guy in there, and then that military guy take over. If that one is the same thing that they've been doing, over the years until now, where I think they're going back again to the olden days era during the Cold War, where some of the West African countries are siding with the Russians, and instead of the Americans, right? So they think, by going to one white man to another, it's going to solve their problems. You
Right.
know, it is not going to help Africa. It's not going to help us at all. And I know for a fact it's not going to help because I have the example of it. We braved and lived it. A lot of these African countries, they just learning what this thing's about. You know what I mean? Because when Doe got, from Tallback to Doe, to all the way to Charles Taylor, the conflict in Liberia
Yeah,
that
man.
spread
Bottom line,
into Sierra Leone.
Samuel Doe was tricked by the United States, the CIA, to take out Tolbert, right? Saying that and Doe said, "Oh, Tolbert's being disobedient to America. America is not the master. This is another thing. America is not Liberia's master." And another big
Carla,
problem.
do you know Samuel? Do you know Charles Taylor was a former FBI in America? He's
Yeah,
actually,
and
in
Charles
fact,
Taylor.
most of
And
the
I met
most of the most of
Charles
the
Taylor's
American
son.
most of the Liberian presidents, obviously Liberian and Sierra Leoneans were Americans anyway. The nationality were American passport. That's what they carried, and Sierra Leone British passport. In fact, Sierra Leone is the country that actually declared visa for the British instead of the other way around. It's when Valentine Strasser took over power in the late 90s to 2000. That's when he said the British would need to take visa to come to Sierra Leone. And then the British said, well, if that's the case, your people need to take a visa also. So before Valentine Strasser, our own military leader, before he declared visa for the British, it was never because Sierra Leone was seen as one of the outside countries who will be always covered and protected under the British. And even though you made one point about America, don't give a damn about Liberia. That's very true. I know. Obviously, the West never been our friends, but when the war happened in Liberia, the Liberians were crying for America to come and help them.
Right, right,
Like
and that made the
years,
Liberians
they
made
never,
weaker.
they never did.
They
The only
should
people that really
those
helped them.
Liberians, if they were smart, they should have went to Germany or the Netherlands, countries that basically actually helped Liberia throughout the years. America never gave a shit. Only thing
No,
America wanted to do was bully, boss, and project onto Liberia with how they treat black people in America. And Liberians are
yes.
very there's a blog. We don't have time for that because I got to go. I
Right. So the Sierra Leone war, at least one thing I'll give Tony
wrote.
Blair and the British, they did came to the rescue but it was almost at the end of the war. That's when the British came. The SAS came to Sierra Leone, to rescue one of their people, and they thought,
America
you
has
know what?
never sent one troop into Liberia
Yeah,
throughout its
and
history.
also
Not
Carla
one.
Genesis, and also Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of England. His dad was a lecturer at the University of Frobe College in Sierra Leone when the war started in Sierra Leone. So when he left Sierra Leone, came back to Britain, he said to Blair, "You need to get involved. You know, you can't have this country falling to pieces." And at the same time, we had the Kosovo War where the British sent their troops also, so there was quite stretched. But in Sierra Leone, they did came in at the end of the war. You know, thank God we have the Guinea and the ECOMOG troops in Sierra Leone that helped Sierra Leone and also the ECOMOG in Liberia. But in Sierra Leone, I would say it's mainly our soldiers in Guinea that came to the rescue. I'm going to be honest about that when it comes to fighting the rebels. And at the end of the war, the SAS of the British that came to the rescue. And I know that's because of Tony Blair. His dad was there at the time in Sierra Leone at the university lecturing. So is one of those things that people need to shine light on because the Sierra Leone and the Liberia war was one of the most brutal war that ever happened in Africa when it comes to the brutality of it itself. I mean, we even had troops that came from Vietnam. First month they got slaughtered. They couldn't fight. They couldn't handle the war. You know, people were like kind of giving up on it. You know, and because we only had one place that was left that's not been captured by the rebels, which was the capital city. And even then, by the time you realize it, they was in the capital city creating ravage, and they ruled the place for a few months. And before the Guinean troops came in and chased them out, because the rebels, when they heard the Guinean troops coming, they would run away and leave their weapons. If the Nigerians come in, they would stand and fight. But sometimes Nigerian win, sometimes Nigerian get smashed in. So, but they had to stay in and fight. So they had to just put up with the drama, and they did went through a lot of trauma in that country during the war. And so it's a good thing that I think people should learn about Sierra Leone and Liberia, which happened recently. You know, because if these things that keep going on now with the coups, if these things keep happening, it's going to repeat in those countries. Because you know, a military officer, yeah, doesn't care about the civilian when it comes to governorship. When it comes to governing a country, they're military, and they're always going to have a junior officer behind him, looking at him, thinking, "I'm going to be next." Yeah, these guys are not going to give civilian power easily, man. Once you get ruled by the gun, you know your time is up, man. You need to fight it. But Carla, Carla is gone, yeah. Yo, Carla, guys, I'll pass the floor back to you, bro.
Dr.
Yeah, look,
K, where you at?
yes, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah. So Duale,
Yeah,
how are you, brother?
yeah. I've been listening like 1 hour and 20 minutes now, and all our
Mhm.
friends were talking about Liberia and like their history, and nobody addresses the topic of the hand. You know what's wrong with us, our dusty Africans? We cannot just stick on one topic. We go all over. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
I'm
So yeah.
going to tell you. Yeah, I'm going to tell you the same thing. You know, if you Kaiser now just Google it and just say take any country, any Western country, let us say just United States, and
Mhm.
Google it how many United States missionaries in Africa. You will find
Yeah.
like tens of thousands,
10,000.
more, so many. I mean, then we don't have a system to vet all these people who are coming to Africa and ask them exactly what their intentions are. And please don't take me wrong, but I think if the missionaries who goes to Africa definitely goes also to the proper channels of that particular country they are going. They are going the
Mhm.
permissions from the ministers, local government, from the chiefs, from the tribal leaders, and they do their stuff. I'm not going to put them all in one category and took them out of the bus. Some of them really, really did do good job. But in the meantime, there are some crazy people like this Dusty guy who is already married. He's a missionary. He's a Christian. He's spreading the word of Jesus. He's already married and he has another woman down there. So you see how hypocrite that is. It's not even practicing his own religion. So what is he? What is he selling? Nothing. Lies. Huh?
Mhm.
And but we have to put ourselves and our leaders and our government officials also the blame because they should you can just go you cannot just go in a European country or any Africa any Western world and just do your they will fetch you so many ways till they find you are genuine and what you are doing is benefit to them then they will let you know that. So it is mostly, I will blame us. I will blame on us that because our leaders are taking kickbacks, and that's why these insults, these criminals are coming into Africa and doing harm
Yeah. Yeah.
more
But
than good
so
thing. Yeah.
so Duale, the issue that I'm having here is the way that they can easily come in without being checked at all. As I mentioned earlier, you guys have to start these conversations about having, for example, basic child protection um, checks when you're allowing people coming in. How is foreigners in 2023 come into an African country who are, again, this guy most likely has done this before. This is probably not the first victim.
He
This is
did
just
it
the first.
before. This is no. Okay. If you just look at the psychology of Zuma, this is not the first time he deleted an African. Look at him. The guy looks like a serial killer to me. Yeah. Look, I'm going to tell you the similar story which occurred in a country that I grew up called Djibouti. In
Mhm.
1999, if you follow there we have French groups here, French armies, and we also have French missionaries. I don't know what they are doing. Most of the 99% of the people are Muslims, and they would not, they would not even. But if they are still there, okay. And the French government sent 1998 a judge from a magistrate actually to investigate not the Djiboutian locals but the French officials over there and their pedophile things that they are doing to the local.
Yeah.
This magistrate has done his homework and he was going to recommend. That time was Jacques Chirac, the president was Jacques Chirac, of course, that some people, the French military and the French missionaries, should be punished and put them in prison and drive them into the court. You know what the French intelligence did? They kill him. They killed him in Djibouti. And who killed them? Well, he's denying, but at that time, he was the head of the intelligence of agencies in Djibouti, and now he's the president of Djibouti. They stopped the investigation just to protect these insults, these bastards. So it's not only we are
So let me ask you a
letting
question.
them the local.
Do,
Hmm?
do you think it's about the money then? Because that's why they don't
Well, it's,
check on these people background. Because this is not the first one, as I
well,
mentioned.
they,
This happens all the
it's
time.
not. It's not the first one. It's not the last one. Even in Cameroon, you see the children were dying because of prescriptions was made in India. Look,
Yeah,
the,
yeah. In
when it
Gambia,
comes
happened,
when in Gambia, yes, when it comes to the higher elites, of course, it's the money. When it comes to the middle people and the ordinary African citizens, it, whether it is east or north, it's just the same. It is the mentality, when they see a white person, they go just I don't know, something is wrong with us. We think because they better, or maybe anyone can come to Somalia and Kenya and Djibouti and Ethiopia and claim to be a doctor, and we are not going to ask him what his qualifications are.
yeah.
So
Niggas, Afrodanel, click on the link I've just sent on the chat. No, but let me just before you go ahead and UFC. I don't know if you're still there. I want you to comment on this quickly. Sorry,
Yes,
earlier
I'm here.
someone made a yeah,
I'm here.
someone
I'm
made a
here.
call. Okay. I want you to comment on this after I share this video, but it's all related to the lack of quality control and checks by African institutions. Forget even governmental level. Like we don't have checks. Sorry, forget even local levels, right? Like specific churches, specific children's care or centers or whatever it is. We don't even have checks at the national level. To me, that is an embarrassment. And that let me share the video right now. Just download. Yeah, niggas, click on the link. Come join everyone in the other chat. There's a little bit more people on this side. Over there, we're accepting of LG, whatever. Yeah, we love them. Shout out, shout out to them. Shout out YouTube. We're not haters on this platform, right? Just give me a second. Oh yeah, I found the video. Yeah, watch this video, guys. It's sad as hell.
For contaminated medicines identified in the Gambia that have been potentially linked with acute kidney injuries and 66 deaths among children.
Kenzo, what happened?
Oh, sorry, I was speaking to myself. In the UK, right, and other countries like that, they have proper strong checks. So what's going on? How is that medicine going to come from India without any quality control check? The very minimum, you should be checking it. Do a basic, gas chromatography. I can't even pronounce things. Chromatography test. Find out which elements and minerals are in there. At the very minimum, make sure that the active ingredient and the filler is the only thing that's inside the drugs. What's going on with African countries, man? No checks. Missionaries coming in left, right, centers. A woman from the one that went to Uganda, I'll do that show tomorrow, comes in, kills 105 African children. Now 66. This is just the ones that we know of. Meaning is so much more. Yeah. So go on, UFC, man. What's going on?
First, I'm good. If you look at the country, you see the reason why. You see, most of this, if you look this part of Africa, most of these people they worship white people. If you observe, most of this thing doesn't happen in Nigeria. Our kind of aggressive nature is what is keeping us alive in Nigeria there. We won't
That's right.
allow you to come there and do this kind of rubbish. When you go to other Africa countries, they have this problem of they are too weak. They allow things to be done to them without speaking. They just there looking as well. I don't believe that most of them have a low IQ, so that's part of the problem. So that's the thing. I don't blame these white people. On that thing again, sometimes we like handout, we like aid, we seek, we beg for aid all the time. So what do you expect? They will bring contraband goods to your country to kill your people. So I don't. I'm not gonna lie. No, I don't feel pity for ourselves. I think sometimes we invite these things to our show. So that's just my take.
Hmm. Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. Let's go to IC3. IC3. I don't know if you've uh watched the beginning of the video. We talked about a white guy, a white missionary. He was actually caught, right, by witnesses trying to, slit the throat of his wife, right, and throw a body off in some, strange location. And he thought he'd done it successfully, right? But that's why he lied and said, oh, she got hit by a motorbike. But the wife, fortunately, right, Masha Kaizoria survived and told her story, and the witnesses have finally come out. So the guy's been arrested. But the issue here is these missionaries can run rampant across Africa. I've seen some of them are pedophiles, so they're doing bad things to our children. Some of them, and some of them, as we mentioned in the show that I want to do tomorrow about Renee Back. Actually, I might just merge the two shows depending, right? She went in, pretended to be a doctor, went into Ugandan hospitals treating children, aka killing them. Some of them ended up dead, right? She actually had to settle a lawsuit, and now they're trying to arrest her again and set up a proper tribunal. So what's going on? Why are Africans allowing this to happen on their land?
I think UFC actually gave the answer. What UFC already said. But me, I just like to focus on solution because otherwise I'll just become so depressed. Because there's an endless stream of abuse of black people internationally. That's why I find it very difficult to talk on these things. That's why I'd like to stay in the solution mode. What is to be done about it? What is the problem? You asked the question. I think also organization costs money. Yeah, it costs to organize. And then you say, oh, why aren't there these checks? Yeah, these imports of all these people coming in, why aren't they being checked? Medicines coming in, why aren't they being checked? Checks come under the section of security, right? Security and organization, right? And then that relates to organization. So organization, security, checks, these things are expensive, but it's more expensive not to have them. So you have to get once you've got the people organized, then the security comes automatically as a result of good organization. And that's why I keep focusing on the solution. Get Black Africa and the Black African diaspora organized, and then security and these checks will come as a natural
Okay. So
result.
let me counter that a little bit, right? I remember when the white feminists, and I can share a video. Actually, Rude Boy, I don't know if you can find this video faster than me, right? But when the white feminists come to certain tribes, certain pastoralist tribes, so I think is also a racial issue, right? When they went to the Afar people or the Maasai people, let's say Samburu, not Maasai, they go to the Samburu people in Kenya and then also the Afar people in Ethiopia. These men are very patriarchal and protective over their women. So what happened is that when they wanted to interview the women without the men around, they didn't allow it to happen because they were naturally very defensive of their community. Do you not think then the rest of Africa has more of that mentality? It's a mentality issue, not just a funding issue. Because if a dusty tribe like the Afars and Samburu can protect their women from, white feminist agendas, because they wanted to interview them, independently, so that they can push an agenda of how patriarchal and how evil the men are. But the men were there monitoring the whole thing. So are you sure it's just simply a money problem, or are you trying, or really what you're doing here is deflecting on responsibility of black men?
Very good, very clever angle. Right, deflecting on the responsibility of black men. Well, for the black men to be responsible, then they also have to. you have to accept, the women have to accept the control of the men. And that's why these feminist things come in to try and destabilize the system. And these things are ancient wisdom. There's a book called the book of Esther in the Bible. Yeah, the book of Esther. And the king had a party, and and his wife had a party, and then the king got drunk. I just condensed it, and then he called for his wife to come over from the party, because he was going to show off his wife to the rest of the people. And his wife said, she ain't coming. I'm not coming. she didn't, and then she didn't come. Her name was Vashti.
Well,
Yeah.
what do you mean she didn't come, huh? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, she did not obey the king, even though she's the queen. When the king says, hey, come over, right, the wife, the woman must come. So Vashti, that was her name, didn't come. And then all the counselors sat around. You should read this. You have to read this. All the counselors sat around and said, listen, you have to get rid of Vashti. You need a new wife. Because if you don't do something about this, all the women in the kingdom are going to go up against their husbands. And it's going to be total disorder. Yeah? And the kingdom's going to fall. So you got to get rid of Vashti. So they got rid of Vashti. And then a new queen was selected. And that was the counselors, the wise counselors saying that. So for the man to take responsibility, yeah, then you have to obey. It goes with obedience. Otherwise, the man can't be held responsible.
Kaiser, can I ask?
Go ahead.
I see three a question. Yeah, because our mindset, these black Western males and African African mindset is completely different. If I see three, forget about black people. Do you think you live in Britain? Do you think the white men defend and protect his white woman?
They used to, in the days of the empire. You know the old British way, yeah. Well, but the old system has been taken over by the elite banking class. So they're trying to destroy things like family value, because when you have family values and community values and national values, right, then it's harder to control the people internationally. So the white man is complaining because he's losing control over. He's basically lost control now over his family. So yeah, so it's affecting black and white, but it's fundamentally a white supremacist problem. But you've got to understand what whiteness is. Whiteness has two wings. It's basically status and money. Yeah, so to be black or dark is to be poor and southern, and to be northern or north is to be wealthy and have a good status. That's one aspect of whiteness. The other aspect of whiteness is Northern Europeanness. You've got to be Northern European. You've got to be Germanic. So it's a combination of these two things. That's why it's difficult to understand. What is this white supremacy? How does it actually work? Does it exist or not? It's a dance between two ideologies.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I see three, like I mentioned earlier, right? If you Afar people in Ethiopia, right? The moment that white feminist comes in with the camera trying to get an special exclusive interview, oh yeah, these men, do they force you to do this? They're controlling and all that stuff. The men, were watching them every single time. Same thing when they came to Kenya in the
Yeah.
Samburu tribe. But you see the other tribes, they invite them over. This is I was gonna say something about South Africa, but please nobody mentioned that, right? Because that's what got me strike last time. But basically, what happened right now with Gambia situation, where drugs can just come in from India unchecked, no quality control at all, and this is a consumable stuff like food. Drugs, you have to do your own quality control check, right? Bring in missionaries, right? Just letting them run rampant. Do you think I can bet you 100% most of these Black African countries, when missionaries come, there's no check whether they're pedophile, whether they're rapists, whether they've committed other violations in the past. Zero,
Kezo, did they
right?
check you when you first came to Kenya?
No, of course not.
Is there even a way to? Okay, look at these African countries. This is the thing. You and I swear, you sometimes you're schizophrenic, just like a lot of these Africans. You, when you're talking with Ike, you say, "Oh, Africa is such a great place because it has such great opportunity. In this chaos, also there's great opportunity because Africa is chaos."
That's true.
And you guys
That is true.
advertise yourself to other people outside of Africa by saying, "Oh, Africa has no regulations. Africa is like the wild, wild west." Blah blah blah, and you paint this as being a positive thing. Then now, when you finally see the negatives of it, then you complain about it also being no. So which one is it? Do you want the
Exactly.
wild, wild west?
No. Look,
Because
Abia,
every time you and
right.
I talk, it's about, oh, I
Hang
love
on,
the
hang on.
chaos. In the chaos, you can thrive, blah, blah, blah. And now, when you see the chaos in its fullness, oh my God, can someone come and protect us? Where are the security checks?
That's right. Nihilist is right, man.
No. Hang on. Yeah, we'll come back to you, Abby, in a second. Al, what's your response to what you've heard so far?
Kaiser, I think, as I said earlier, in terms of the institution in place, and making sure these institutions are functioning well, you did hit on the, you did said earlier, that says it all. How can this with no checks? I mean, you cannot work in any school or any institution in the UK to do with children's, even old people, for example, without going through all the checks, right? So how can Africa leave, actually open the door for anyone to enter? It's because we don't have the institutions in place. I mean, we don't even have the system in place. So how can it be implemented? That's the trouble. And until we strengthen our institutions and we stop relying on other people to come in to help us, it will not change. They will still come in. Some countries in Africa probably have more checks. But for example, if they were to check those in the Gambia, those kids that died taking the wrong medication or expired or actually mal medication that was actually badly manufactured, how can we actually check that in Gambia? Because the Gambia, they probably don't have the labs to do that to start with. So you know what I mean, though, Kaiser? So it's one of those things. Senegal probably can check if this medication is real. How do we even know in Africa all this medication that we import in is actually not actually causing more problem for our health than benefiting from it? So it's all about having the institutions strengthened and having system in place,
Yeah,
to check. And also,
but Al,
like I would
yeah, go
give,
ahead.
yeah.
No,
Also,
go
like
ahead.
some example, some of our politicians in the UK, they probably heavily investing in Africa, or like I'll give you an example of some of our right-wing politicians that actually making our life hell in this, in Europe or in America. These guys are probably having, they probably making loads of money in Africa, via different angles. I mean, if we can have system in place to track those things, you know, that will happen because they will be careful where, how they're making their money and where they're making their money from if these people are going to be unhappy with them, because that's what the world is. It's all about money, 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 money. We rely on money so long, and we actually turn a blind eye on the reality. We're letting people in without any checks, and it's when things will react to it. So I cannot see how this is going to stop. Unfortunately, I hate to actually bring this to a negative end, but I can't see how it happened. I will actually end. Because it will still keep happening because we don't have the system in place. If for example, an African want to do a check on a European coming, to Africa, allow them to actually enter their database, because you have to share a database with those countries, right?
Yeah, good point. Good point. So go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Isis.
database. If you don't have the database, you cannot. It's not going to work.
Would
Okay, so
you
you're talking
agree?
about database solutions. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Actually, just before
Keizo, let me ask you this. Keizo, let me ask you this. Let's just say even a PDF person in Kenya, a PDF Kenya, if he went from one end of the city to another region and another city, is there even any way within Kenya to even check the record of that person?
there is. It's just that the systems are not being used, right? So there's a
Keizo, so it
fingerprint.
doesn't work, bro. So basically, it doesn't work. You're telling me if a man is accused of being a PDF in Nairobi, once he's served his prison sentence, he can go to the NFD region and live his life like nobody knows whatever he's done. So
Yes.
what? You can't even check your own people, and you're talking about checking foreigners. First of all, bro, fix your house first. Like you can't even check your own criminals, and you're talking about checking foreigners that are coming into your country. This is some delusional level shit.
Okay, go ahead, IC3.
Okay, so would the panel agree that all of these issues can be solved from the fundamental belief system of the people, and everything else springs from that? So if there's a flaw in the ideology that the society or the community is built on, then all these other problems come as a result. So your ideology has to be stronger than, and your religion, your ideology, your whole systems thinking from the, before we go to the physical, has to be stronger than the white supremacists, for example, because they're coming in with the missionary. The missionary comes in first with an ideology and their God. Then they come in with the foodstuffs and so on. But it's always the missionary first with with their talk. Or would you disagree?
Okay, so
I
let me
agree on one. Sorry,
yeah,
Kaiser, go ahead.
let me just respond to Abby's point first. Okay, yeah, obviously fixing your own house is great, but it's actually easier to do this on foreigners because there's much fewer of them, and you can pick them out so easily. That's the other thing. Actually, it's easier to regulate foreigners than it is your own citizens, and this at least will remove that element of the problem. But yeah, go ahead, Al.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a very good point. And also in terms of sharing database with these foreign countries that they're coming from, because you know how these people move. You know, if we were to ask them for this guy's database, they probably would want to ask us about our own database, and you know what they will do with our database. So it's a very tricky one, and I think that's one of the reasons why we keep
Oh,
getting
thank you.
this. And
Oh, thank
yeah, and
you.
also
Thank
yeah, you're
you for
welcome.
pointing this out. No country is going to share their database with you when you don't have jack shit
Yeah,
of a database to share with them. It has to
That's
be
right.
yeah,
it has to be reciprocal.
That's
You're
right.
asking them to share
yeah,
their database with you. What are you going to share with them?
Yeah.
Just a paper that says nothing.
yeah. That's
Keizo was born, Keizo's birth date, and that's it.
yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
And
Very
that's
good
one of the
point.
reasons why we will struggle. That's why we need to actually make sure we keep our talent in our countries instead of having to rely on foreign social workers. It's very easy to train. The amount of nurses and doctors that live in Africa, and medics that live in Africa, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, all these countries in the continent going abroad. You can't blame them, but this is the brain drain to the continent, because then we will need these people to come back to foreigners to come in to help us. So it's one. So the solution is I think the solution is we need to be more patriotic, and we need to put our country first, put money aside, which is very difficult to actually do. But that's where patriotism come in. As IC3, as the last time we was having a great conversation closing in, things like that. That step by step, changes and educating the from young. Listen, this is your country. It's this way you have to make great. So when you get your knowledge and that talent that you got, please try and stay here and make a change. But that's also depend on if you have the government in place that's actually putting these things in place for you to actually thrive. So we're in a difficult situation, man, honestly. So
Oh yeah, and yeah, I'd like to strengthen the points you were making earlier about the database. Brilliant point. It is you're 100% right, because that's where you have move up institutions like Interpol and Europol, and how these all the police forces, they can communicate with each other, and they even efficient.
Just before you answer, I want to make a correction to Abby. Actually, you can request police abstracts, right, from these countries, and they will give it to you. You just tell them, hey, if you want to get this job, give us your police abstract for these countries, and we should have an intelligence service that knows enough information. For example, the
Most
UK.
of these guys are not coming for jobs in your country. They're coming with capital. So what are you on about? You think they're
Yeah, that's what
coming
I'm
to
saying.
get your $2 per hour job? They're not coming to get a
No,
job
they
from
are.
your dirty country, bro.
No, they are, because they're keeping
Bro,
their
stop.
NGO.
That guy from
No, they
Liberia
are.
is not coming here to get a job. That lady is bringing investments into your country. She's creating an NGO. She's pretty much a business owner, if you want to talk about it that way. People don't ask that of investors. They ask that of employees who want to go and work in another country.
Okay, so this
And
is
on
what I'm
top of
saying.
that, your country, your African country, if you look at your income, a large proportion of it comes from NGOs itself. When you talk about foreign currencies, that's true of Ethiopia, Kenya, and most of these African countries. So why would the government go out of its way to make it harder for NGOs to start up in their countries when that's a large portion of their foreign direct investment?
Wow,
Long
good
term
point.
investments.
Talk about what's real on the ground, bro. Not what you want in the fantasy. You're talking like a Pan African these days.
No, not Pan
Oh
African, Abby,
my,
right? No. Hang on. Abby, I see your point,
I
right?
am
But
Pan African, by the way, but he's
no,
making a good solid point though,
it is a strong
Kaiser,
point,
and
very strong
no.
point. Solid.
Let me explain this, right? Right. If you're short-sighted, right, you're short-term thinking, what he's making is a good point. If you want to remain as an African, you can only see
yes,
2 days in advance. But if you want to be a superior Kaisorian who can
Okay,
see
Kaiser,
5-10 years,
I'll put you as the president in Kenya
absolutely right,
tomorrow.
absolutely
You
right.
make wait, bro. Let's be honest. This is what's going to happen. All of your presidents come in saying all these nice things. Once they get into power, they realize the NGOs and all these places have them by the balls. And if you make it harder on these NGOs and foreign direct investment coming into your country, your inflation will go through the roof. Within 2 months, your people are going to be rioting because the bread prices are going up, and your ass is going to be on the ground soon. So good luck with that.
right. So okay, Abby, and let me respond to
To
Abby, and
even make these policy changes first, you need to create local industries first. And then once you have a power base where you can negotiate on an equal ground with these NGOs, then you can make these demands of them. But right now, you're not in any
Yes,
position.
like what,
So actually
similar
strengthen
to what,
yourself, strengthen your economy, and diversify your portfolio so that you can have a
what
variety of foreign direct investment coming in outside of just a few NGOs and so on. Then you can make these demands of them.
right, right. But Kaiser was making a point in
Abby,
terms of
you
the
know
long
that the
term.
different.
What Kaiser was saying is in terms of the long term, that's what we should be aiming for, to make sure we can change. But also point, in terms of,
yeah.
having our own industries, first, having our own things in place before we can actually look to stop these guys. Because if we stop them, the locals don't have another option. They're gonna kick off, and then that's another anarchy. But it depends on the
That,
country, because some countries are very authoritarian anyway, so they would just keep the population in. But some countries are more more liberal. They will let the people come out in the street and have change. So it's depend on the country. But I think in general, what we need to do is have system in place first, before we even start fighting the outsiders, because you can't fight with no leg to stand on.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And
Yeah. Go ahead,
that's the
Wale.
discussion here. That is the discussion here. And I think Abby is. I don't know if he just accepted to be a dusty forever,
Abby, he's
but
a
this.
defeatist. He doesn't believe in improving. Yeah, go ahead, Wale.
Now, and there are Abby. There are two different meanings. The foreign direct investment is not like a missionary or non-GOs. They are two different, my friend. We need foreign direct investment. That is very beneficial. But when it comes to missionaries, when you are spreading some kind of ideology or religion, you have we must check that, and they must be also accountable for their beliefs. And that is the thing. We cannot just treat them like they are coming here and giving us, investment. No, they're two different things. Two different.
Yeah.
Is
So
it?
Okay, Duale, when did I say we should just bend over and get fucked? I said you can't challenge them now, so you have to build your power base before you can challenge them. Like, what of that doesn't make sense? If someone is attacking your, let's say, your home with AK-47s and everything, does it make sense for you to just run into the field without anything, just with your underwear and clothes on? No, you have to go and get your own weapon before you can come and attack him as well or defend yourself. I'm telling you, you need a base to defend yourself. That means diversifying your portfolio base. Because look at a country like Kenya. If these NGOs and stuff don't come to Kenya, that Kenyan shilling is going to go from whatever, I think it's like $1 is 120. It's going to go to 200 by tomorrow if all these NGOs leave. And the people that are already protesting against Ruto, you think they're going to kill Ruto within a month if it goes to all the way up to 200. So I'm saying you can't challenge them now. You're too weak. So you have to build your power base first. That's why these men can come to your country and run circles around you, shit on you, and then leave, and you can't do shit about it because you're weak. So how do you strengthen yourself? You can't just go and chase them out because your currency will be the one that will suffer the most. They won't suffer. It will be you.
Yeah, but Abi, you must understand. NGOs in Africa is just like the what is it called? The warfare in Europe. I want all these NGOs must go. Why are they feeding Africans? We should, yeah, you're right. We should grow our food. We should make our medicine. But as long as you are being spoon feed, of course you be lazy, man. You will ask where are the NGOs? Where are the white people who's
Duale,
going to
let's be
treat
honest.
me? No.
Mostly, these NGOs aren't doing shit in Africa, bro. Let's just be honest. Like 70 to 80% of the income they make, they just use it to buy office rooms, buy buildings, rent out the best mansions they can find in all of these countries. They just use it to live the best life for the workers. It's not even going to the poor.
I
But
agree.
what it does
I
benefit the
agree.
country in is it brings dollars into the country. That is what your government is looking at. It's looking at the hardcore dollars that are coming into the country because of these NGOs. They don't give a shit whether they help the poor or not. They can spend it on liquor in a club if they want to. They don't care as long as the money is coming in. I'm saying if you don't have something to replace that foreign currency that is coming in, you are beholden to the NGOs. They're not beholden to you.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right.
We have to do something about those our leaders who are just accepting money from
Okay.
wherever
See,
NGOs
see,
they are.
see.
Yeah.
If you look at it,
I see three.
We must
I
have
see three. I believe
solutions. Yeah.
it's what Yardman called yes man. Yes man. The whole yes
Kezo,
man.
Kezo, if you look at it and we are not serious. Okay, if you look at a country like Liberia, for example, the GDP of that country is about $3.9 billion. Can you tell me what kind of deal or what kind of agreement or whatever those like the leader of those country can make in the European Union or with the West that won't benefit anybody? Yeah,
good point. Yeah, good point.
there's nothing there. Huh? One crazy a multi-millionaire can easily just leave America and cause a coup in that country. That country will fall immediately because nothing there. So we need to wake up and get to work. As most of our
UFC
people are
Superfan, you know what Liberia's GDP is?
$3.9 billion.
I saw it too. There you go. What can a country with a GDP of
But
3.9 billion, what can they even negotiate for? Let's be honest.
yeah,
Red
today,
Cross, if
today the
Red Cross
state
could
of
lose 3.5, Red
yeah,
Cross can lose $3.9 billion and not even be affected by it. This country's whole GDP is 3.9 billion. Come on, man.
the state of
I mean, we
Liberia
know
has been
they shouldn't.
terrible and
Liberia
after
shouldn't
the
be even
civil
a
war.
country. Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea should be one country. This is the problem.
We are
Kezo,
very
Kezo,
we are
Kezo,
we are
Kezo.
divided by a river.
Let
You
me
see,
tell
we are
you why.
divided by a river called the
Let me tell you why.
The
Kezo,
Mano
let
River
me tell you.
Union.
Yeah,
Hazel,
go finish your
the,
point, UFC.
the reason why other race hate us as black people, I understand it, I get it. If I were European or Asia, I would hate African people also. You can't be blessed with the rare minerals the rest of the world needs. Still, you beg and complain and beg and cry all over the world, begging for money, looking for help, where you have your resources just
Yeah.
in your feet for you to extract it and make it value-added goods and sell it to the world becomes problem.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace. Even let's use West Africa. For instance, I blame Nigeria for many things that is going on because our leaders fail woefully. They had the opportunity with what they have to control that region. But no, they don't see that. They are just to steal, store the money in Swiss or US and buy private jets and just fly around the world and do nothing. It's crazy. We need to wake up and get to work. Also, one thing I don't like most time when our people discuss, we always want to involve government in everything. So we always cry about government. No.
That's right.
If you look at America or most countries, the citizens they create many of those things. They build many of those things. Not the government didn't directly just involve in everything. Why we always want the government to come in to involve themselves in our lives? Mostly in Nigeria now, people want the government to put food in their table. What you see, you travel through my state, for example, you can travel for 2 hours. All you see is Greenland with nothing. Thick forest and bushes, nothing there. You can easily farm and put anything on the ground there. They will to grow and bear fruit, but we don't want to do the hard work. For instance, there's a company in Nigeria. They are into commercial farming. Olam. In 2021, they made $40-something billion. Let me tell you who owned that company. The owner of those companies from what they call it, Singapore and Japan. The owner of those companies, they are from there. They have farming in Nigeria and Cameroon. Even to feed ourselves is a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. So let me respond to a point that you made there, UFC. So, and then IC3 you can go after. There is actually one really big problem here. And the problem here really is, as you mentioned, negotiation power. This is, I think, why I keep saying this, right? If you guys can't even resolve the low-hanging fruit of, regional cooperation, then obviously I don't have hope for Africa, right? Because at this time, like, let's say, for example, Abby, the thing that happened in Gambia, again, this is just one case. They bought some drugs from India. The drugs were contaminated, and the drugs ended up killing many Gambian children, and obviously poisoning other ones as well. Now, stuff like this, right? You need a strong, obviously, trade deal with these countries with proper checks, balances, and consequences, right? So, if let's say India loses Gambia alone in a let's say trade deal, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care, right?
Exactly, Taylor, I know what you're going to. But if the whole ECOWAS or the whole West African region was negotiating for medicine or all of their imports as one, and if let's say the Indians sold Gambia these contaminated medicines, that would mean the whole of the West African, they would be at risk of losing not just Gambia, but the whole of the West African market. That would actually hurt them. Now they would give a shit. And they would make sure to never send medicine like that ever again. But now that it's just the Gambia, they know they can still sell to Nigeria, blah, 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 because all of these countries are bargaining individually. So you can divide them. And as long as you don't hurt Nigeria or Ghana or any of these major West African countries, you can hurt the small ones. Who gives a shit about Togo when you still have Nigeria? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. As long as these African countries don't negotiate as a whole, either within regions or as a concept. Yeah, exactly. At least start within regions, and then you can talk about the whole continent as a whole later.
Exactly.
Within regions, that will never work. But this is the problem. Even EAC, for all this talk you guys do about, we're going to be one market, you guys are not negotiating as a group. It's not even part of on the list to be importing and exporting as a group. So what's the point? When Britain left the EU, The first country they were trying to negotiate with in Africa was Kenya, and they did that individually. They didn't call the rest of the AEC.
But why? Where this unity is coming from? That's the question.
Where's what did you say? Where's the disunity? Did you say?
Is coming from, yeah.
Where can the unity come from? So, see,
this unity is coming from.
It's coming from the politicians, the tribal leaders.
Exactly. This is what we are talking about.
You're blaming the leaders again. The conversation always ends up this way. Is you start to blame the leadership.
Listen, right? I see three. I am one of those that believe in ability first, right? I always believe in that. I always believe in personal responsibility first, right? I believe in small government. I believe in, in fact, I think the solution for us to move forward is having people like Morv, Alaiko Dangote all over the continent, all over the different countries. People that have, they have, control of the sectors, in our region, in our countries, where, is run by us and is owned by us. That's what I believe in. Then obviously the government comes in and help the people to make things easy by building, transport infrastructure, enough hospitals, for the areas that need it.
You see, when we're talking about solutions, obviously we lose viewers because it's too high IQ. Problems is much easier.
Lose viewers, man. But this is serious. That's a serious point. Hold that a minute.
Guys,
no, but he's right.
He's right. Statement. Think about that statement for a minute.
Kaiser is right, He's right.
Well, that is frightening. That is frightening. When you start talking, listen to what you said. When you start talking about solutions, you lose viewers and therefore can lose money. So therefore, this is an inversion, because obviously, if solutions are found, then the value African goes up, and then the European value starts to go down. It's a direct correlation. It's direct. Lose viewers.
That's why this channel is called Dusty. So Dr. Kaizo is for his own benefit.
Another reason. Let's just use the Gambian medicine thing as an example. One of the reasons that's the biggest hold for why none of these African countries want to have a unified bloc for imports and exports is the local importers are going to lose power within. So think about it. If the whole of West Africa is importing from the same source, they negotiate as one, and so on and so forth. Whoever is that individual person within Gambia, the individual businessman who's doing the private importing of that Indian medicine, he will lose his business because now it's being done on a regional wide level. So these local people that make their money by being commodore bourgeoisies and petty bourgeois by importing and exporting, they don't want it to happen. And these are the people that, let's be honest, are the number one supporters, at least financially, of whatever politician you have within your country. So there isn't really the political will, because these are the richer people in your society, or at least they make a good portion of it, and they don't want it to happen. Because individually, look at the rich people within your own country. It's either they are producing something for the local market, or they're importing, or some of them are exporters. You're pretty much saying 1/3 of those rich businessmen are going to lose a significant portion of their businesses, and they are going to do whatever is in their power to make sure these regional agreements never happen.
And would you agree with me that Kaizo's channel, Kaizo is the equivalent of the president of Nigeria? He's the equivalent. This channel is the equivalent, takes the same skill as running a nation, running a state. So Kaizo's realizing, look, he said it. Soon as we start talking solutions, we start losing viewers, therefore start losing income, right? So what can Kaizo do? He's in the exact same position as an African leader. And so we would attack Kaizo Yeah. If you say,
Okay,
what's
very good
happening to the
point.
viewers?
That's a very good
Now,
point. That is,
now I
yeah,
get
it's
what you
true.
mean about the prison system. I see three. I finally fully agree
Yeah,
with
yeah.
your statements now.
Yeah, you're in the exact same position. How does Kaizo run the channel? It's the same thing as running a nation. Exactly. That's why I keep going about scale. Once you understand the principle, it's scalable. You'll see it in the small and you'll see it in the big.
Yeah, that's actually a good
Yeah, at
point.
the
That's a
end,
good point.
yeah. At the end of the day, and Abby, we know the business leaders, mostly in African countries, are politicians, are in debt, as well as the religious leaders. But we are looking for to find somehow to better our lives and have some solution. Yes, but they are all in bed and they don't want to lose that power or that money, and we
Do you
pay
know,
prices. Yes.
actually, Kaizo has a solution. I've seen him actually do it. Watch the move he does. I don't know if he does it on purpose or whatever. Watch this move. What he does, so he's like governing the country. And I think that's what some of the African leaders are doing. What he does, he builds up the particular topic, and there's a lot of people watching. Yeah, a lot of people watching, and there's a lot of people on the panel, right? And then as soon as it starts to move into solution mode, he knows that things are going to start dropping. The viewership, the money's all going to start dropping. So what he does, he shuts down the channel and starts a new one, starts a new stream, but leaves the people who are talking solutions to talk amongst themselves, but it's not public. Yeah, so he shuts it and opens a new stream. Shuts it. So how would that operate? Do you understand what I'm saying? Tell me about Kaizo. Is that right? It
Guys,
works
you
because
big cooked.
I've had some brilliant conversations here when Kaizo was closed the stream, and then we had a private conversation. A lot of the stuff that I come up with is because of the meetings I've had right here when the stream is shut down and Kaiser opens up a new stream and brings all the crowd that way and then leaves a private
Apart of when
Kaiser is a
when I'm on
white
the
guy.
stream, when I'm on the stream, when I'm on the stream, you keep it longer, generate income, right? Just joking.
Kaiser make his money when
Oh,
Nigerians
goodness
and
is
South
watching.
Africans are insulting them, each other. And Kaiser makes so much money when FBA and Africans are on their throats and when the Somalis are there. So it's not his own benefit.
No, but
Of
that's what we
course,
want. We
this
want
is
him to
this.
make enough money because they're doing the right thing. Absolutely. You know, you're right.
Well,
You're right.
I'm not blaming him. The guy is he's doing his
Yeah,
things, and
yeah,
that's it.
exactly. That's how
So someone
we all got.
please donate
We got.
something, okay? And let us make some solution.
Yes. People are
Yeah,
we're waiting for the donation to fly to. But yeah, no, he's right. You know, my man is said just now. I see three. You know, it's something you got to keep everyone. You know, keeping everyone happy. It's not an easy job. You know, but at the end of the day, people got to try and make themselves feel comfortable. You know, you can't just keep blaming, the government for everything. You know, you can't expect, a handout for free. This world is nothing for free in this
Yeah,
world, man.
but
If you love your
Al,
co-op, you can't.
I'm going
Yeah.
Al tomorrow. Kaiser is going to make that American woman in Uganda who just deleted
Is
whatever
it?
so far. You know, yeah, he's going to make it.
Kaiser, man, that's
That
naughty.
did HBO made a documentary about it. What is the name of that documentary? Some white savior something
yeah,
complex.
white
Yeah,
savior complex. Yeah.
and it's going to be released on 26th. When I watched that the clips, there were Ugandese women who were like old and who were like 15, 20 years nurses, and when she is doing all these things, they were just standing beside her, and nobody tells her, "Stop it, white lady! Why are you putting this catheter on this child? He's going to die." This is what I'm going to ask myself.
Yeah.
Why?
Do you know?
Why
Do you know what,
are
my
they
brother?
not
Do you know
speaking
why?
at that time? But now they are
Yeah.
speaking.
Yes. But do you know what, my brother? It's white savior complex. You know, white savior syndrome. You know, we always think they know better than us. you know, they're better than us and stuff like that. But if you come to their countries, you see our Asian doctors actually are the better ones, you know, and it's a mentality that we have that need to change
Mhm.
also.
Yeah, and
Yeah, no,
she was a teenager. She was just like 18 years, 19 years old when she pretended to be a doctor. What kind of a doctor is that? I mean, how
what's
nasty that
crazy?
we are.
It's
Mm,
not just us and the white savior complex. It goes even beyond that. Remember, there's the similar story happened in the UK. In fact, I'll link the two stories together. There's a nurse in the UK who was unaliving infants as well, and she's just been finally charged by the high court to life in
yeah, she
prison.
was. Yeah,
And
yeah,
guess what?
yeah. We know.
Black women, like our mothers and our aunties who always work in the NHS, right, as healthcare assistants and nurses. They were complaining about it for a long time. They were like saying there's so much inconsistencies. That lady, when she goes there, the baby's okay. When she comes back, there's something wrong, and nobody listened, right, to all these black women that complained. And of course, it's only recently that they uncovered that it was her, and then they finally charged. And you know what the racist white media said? Well,
Hmm.
she
No,
doesn't look
no,
like the kind of person to do this.
Ah, shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, man,
Right.
yeah.
when
They
when the
they will
person
always
with
find
a
excuses
white
for them.
blonde with a blonde hair, they
Yeah.
always protect her. If you watch, they always do that when she's cute and
Yeah, yeah.
or let me say pretty.
But
They will just
Exactly.
try to
yeah,
make her nice.
Mhm.
She was a serial killer, a psychopath.
yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah,
I
trying to
saw
say.
the
But
I
so
saw
I'm
the
saying,
news.
yeah, white supremacy is not just in Africans, right? It's everywhere. I think there's this kind of culture, especially if it's white women. We're far less likely to scrutinize them at the same level. I've seen it before, right? I remember even like the first time I got accused of a crime falsely. This was when I was like 9 or 10, right? Some white girl accused me of stealing her crazy bones, right? I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember those, but in the UK we had this little plastic toys made of different animals, right? Uh, Now here's the thing. Obviously, the teacher believed her. Why? Because she was a white girl. So yeah, there is that stuff has to end, right? Like especially you guys, Africans, man, stop looking at white people, think that they're
Yeah.
savior just because they're coming with a little bit of tunes, and don't have a defeatist mentality like Abby, talking about how you're gonna lose all your money. No, Abby, look, most of Africa's economy money is not coming from NGOs. That's a really small foreign exchange value. There's a lot more money coming from us from the diaspora sending money back than NGOs investing in Africa. Now, maybe Liberia is a small
to be
country,
honest,
but Kenya. Yeah, go ahead, Al.
yeah, to be honest, you in my community, my people, most of the wealth that's in our community, my people, it
Hmm.
came from abroad because our people definitely, most of our people do not leave the continent anyway. They don't like to leave it. They like to stay there and do business and and expand and stuff like that. So and this money that they generate enable to help a lot of the government in the along the Guinea coast, to to function like paying taxes. People thinking most of the money that come to Africa come from the diaspora is just a myth. Obviously, loads of it come from the diaspora, but those that stay in Africa, like for example, if you have 20 back in Africa, why do you want to come to Europe? Back in the days, yeah, that 20 bag there can actually end up, you could go to China and buy container goods and bring it over and make money and sell it back and go. The people in Africa do it. They're not coming over here to make money and send it back. It's just a
Oh
myth.
yeah, so let me clarify, right? Yeah, obviously, most the Africans in Africa are the ones making most of the money. I was specifying specifically on the foreign exchange, like the dollars and the euros,
Oh,
that
okay,
kind of
okay, I
money.
got that. I got that.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
I got you.
obviously
That's a different
uh,
angle.
yeah, our currency isn't worth as much on the international market. So we do need like diasporans sending money back, because then that money goes into our central banks, and then the government can then use that money to buy and purchase goods from international market. Because one of the issue is,
Yeah.
unfortunately, our currencies is just not strong enough right now to be accepted as payment. So we always have to exchange our currency to their currency.
How do you
Yes,
increase the
that's a good
value
point.
of a currency? How do
Uh,
you move the value of a
Increase the
currency?
market. Okay. There's
A
different
lot
ways
of
you can.
lot of exports. Export. Yeah, you have to export so
You
many
you
things.
need to be able to sell. You need to be able to sell goods with foreign exchange, and having enough
Mm.
foreign exchange in your bank and stuff like that. That's how they design the current day monetary policies. But way to for Africa to actually have their own currency, which will, I think, in the long run, will be more um, better by matching these currencies to the minerals in the ground instead of other values.
No, wait a minute. So you have the dollars, yeah? The dollar is more value than some of these African currencies. How do you move the value? The value, because that's the invisible, isn't it? See, dollars, you can
Yes.
see them. Yeah. So how do you move the invisible? How do you increase the value of a currency? Because if you just shift the value, then you kind of solve all the problems in one move. So how can the panel, let's explore that. How
Yeah,
how
but
do you go on?
exports and yeah. But Dr. Kaizo, uh, the regional cooperation is very, very important. I don't understand why you guys in Kenya and Tanzania and Uganda, you were once called the Eastern Africa. Why can't you just have one currency together? You speak the same language, you're the same people. You can. i- We have to start from the small, from bottom down. What is making you not to have the same one currency? Let us say Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya, and I think all of them are called shilling.
You see, but see, if we want to make this thing happen, what you are saying, the private sector need to also involve. Private sector from both like the countries, the leaders of the private sector, they themselves need to first of all meet, discuss, then they go back to their country, then push their leaders to implement the currency, regional currency. Like in like in West Africa, I was surprised the echo failed. It doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Imagine in West Africa we are using one currency. That would have been, at least the currency would have been more stronger than this individual currency we are using.
Well,
yes,
And
I
you
mean
know, Europe,
UST. That's
and
absolutely
also
right.
to make traveling
1990.
around the region and living in any of the region easy for everyone and do business.
So
Yes,
let me
you're
see if I
right. You're
understand what you're
absolutely right.
saying.
Unfortunately,
Let
Go
me see if
ahead.
I understand what you're saying. To increase the value of a currency, are you saying that you need to sell more to outsiders? You need to export more? Or are
Yeah.
you saying, hold it, or are you saying that you need to do more trade internally?
Hmm. I think
both
both
before
internally and
19 before 19 if I may, before 1999. Let us take a Europe for instance. There are two major powerful economist countries, which is France and Germany, and they were having two different currencies from 1999 until now. They said, okay, stop it. So we have to challenge the dollars, and they made euros. So the other smaller countries like Greece or Romania, not Romania is not part of it, like Holland, which doesn't have any export at all except cheese, can survive and can stay there in float. So it is both exporting and having a strong block that would make it a currency um, strong. That's what, yeah, it is. That's why they want to have now BRICS and IC3.
Okay, so are you saying then? Okay, so we a nation has limited resources, so it says, okay, in order to increase the value of our currency, we need to
export more.
hold it. We need to so let's move into the level of priorities now. In order to quickly increase the value of our currency, should we focus more on exports? In other words, keeping the foreigners happy, and then we'll then get enough strength to increase the internal, or shall we just hold back and really focus on our internal markets, and then when we reach to a certain critical level, we then increase the exports. So which, let's talk priorities now. You're going to do the exports trade, to increase the value, or you're going to focus on internal?
The solution,
Which one?
I think I already know the question. The solution is be protectionist, have a protectionist policy in the continent, and make sure we are in control of what's coming in and out first, because we have to have that in place, to actually control the economy. And then, we produce enough for ourselves, we have a surplus to export to boost our foreign currency exchange. Um, at the same time, um, you know, uh, yeah, it is a solution. But at the same time, with economy, that will be running, hand by hand, side by side with basically manufacturing and agriculture and so on. I think that's the best
Uh,
way to move forward.
okay, so let me see if I understand what you're saying. The best way to increase the value of the currency, because a strong currency, as long as you're in control of your currency values, then you're in a good position. So the best way is to strengthen internal business within Africa, trade amongst yourselves first, as you said, protectionist, and then as a second stage, you then go into export. And doing
Yes,
that level of priority, it will increase the value of the currency. That's the
fa
fastest way to increase
yes,
the value of the currency.
fastest and the best way to do it.
And the best
Without
way, okay, interesting. Is
yeah,
anybody would agree with
yeah.
that? Disagree with that? Because I'm agreeing with him, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Go on.
Yo,
Any,
so
Yeah, but
hey,
I see three. That a region must think collectively, not as individually when they are like talking about or when they want their currency to be strong. Let us take like the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar, and Oman, and yeah, these countries have a fair trade among themselves. They have a zero tax, whatever other country is selling, but they still don't have one currency together. And because one individual country is not going to accept to take the other smaller countries on their back. That is why Europe is different. And sometimes we are thinking Africa is completely different story because I don't even understand why Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda cannot have one currency together. But the other countries also have the same problem. You will increase your currency's value because of your export. That's number one. If you import things, your value is down. If you export, of course, your currency value is up. But in the meantime, you cannot just go alone. You must also give the other surrounded countries who are weaker than you are, who have less economy than you are, and take them with your wings. That is
I
where the
think
euro came.
I think we was talking, my brother. I think we was talking on the African Union, like the entire continent, not just the regional or just countries to countries as a
hey,
continent.
can I add something real quick?
Yeah, of course. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. So oh yeah, and Ajara ma no sude.
Jarama, yedala, ale,
Oh,
ja.
okay.
Is that is,
Yeah,
is that
Jamtum.
Fulani
But
language?
yeah, but I just wanted to say what's up to him real quick. But
Ah,
um,
right.
so basically the reason why we're talking about regional is just more convenient, right? And it gives you the economies that you need. We don't have our economies don't have the scale like a lot of these African countries in order to compete at a global level, you know, whether
Yeah,
that be by the population, whether that be, by the wealth in the country, you know what I mean? So, and also, we don't have, like, for example, like a country like Gambia or something. Gambia doesn't have, like, they don't have the GDP to even talk to a Western country or to even talk to an Eastern country at this point, to even
yeah, true.
negotiate with them. It's not even, they're not at the same level. They're not
Thank you.
creating goods. They don't have the industries, and they don't have the industries because they don't have the scale. You know, that they can't raise
Right.
enough money to industrialize, their country, right?
Yep.
So really, it's about institutions and it's about currency first. And I think at a regional level is the most convenient due to just even geographic factors. We're talking about uniting the continent, but Africa's huge, and it's easier for me to trade within West Africa than it is for me to try to trade, try to create like or yeah, to conduct trade with like a Kenya, for example. Like yeah, I can send ships there right now, and that's good. But Kenya's not going to be is not close enough for me to me to create that network effect needed in order to gain the strength, the economic strength necessary to negotiate with some of these other countries.
So are
So
you
Great point.
are you saying then that um, you should,
Great
in
point.
order to increase the value of your currency, you should
it
focus on
no, no, no.
export?
It's more complicated than value of currency, right? So
Nope. Yeah.
let's say it's not even just about value of currency. It's
I think
about
Flex is digging into
having
details.
complex enough industries and also economies of scale, like a big enough market in order to support certain industries so that you can export things to other people, or have a currency that actually could potentially be recognized by other countries because you have scale. You see what I'm saying? Like, because
Yeah.
you have a
Yeah.
big enough market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now it makes more sense for me to trade with all of these countries because I can use the echo for Nigeria, I can use the echo for Gambia, I can use the echo for Senegal, I can use the echo for all of these 15 countries rather than
Yeah.
like a Dalasi or a or a
Just
whatever, a franc or whatever currency you use.
yeah.
So it's, and then also being able to do trade deals as a block rather than an individual country. Like, for example, the chocolate, the cocoa, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Nigeria. I think if you put them together, that's like 95% of the market or something crazy. It's like 90+% of the market share. You could
Yep.
literally have a cartel right there. We can have cartels in certain things. Like, um like a country like Guinea, right?
Yep.
If Echo, like, let's say that we basically like don't refine the bauxite at all, right? We just ship it out instead of, creating like aluminum foil or creating different products like, that contain aluminum, for example, right? If the
Yeah.
other countries around us, could put some money towards creating ways, to refine this mineral, then we wouldn't have to export it. We could just keep it within the block and refine it within the block and have, various operations across these countries, where, because the one country cannot create a car or airplane, all of these components or a majority of these components in the state that we're in right now. So but we do have the resources. So I think if we're able to, put together like an Echo, put together institutions that can finance industries across our region, for example, then we'll be able to create enough components, create enough products of have cartels, for various markets, for example, like a cocoa, like I said, to where
Yeah.
now we have a little bit more leverage in negotiating at a international level. So
So
and then and also with the currency value, right? So let's say that we have economies of scale regionally, and now we can create a car within ECOWAS, right? For example, ECOWAS, yeah. Let's say I'm able to create a car. Maybe I want my currency now to be a little bit cheaper so that I can sell more units and ultimately make more money, to sell more cars to people on the outside. So it's not just about currency value. It's about being able to create value in the first
okay,
place. And
hold
then
up
at
right there.
that point, you could
Excellent,
dictate
Okay, I got it. Watch this.
excellent,
Watch this.
what you want to do with that
ex-
value.
Yeah, all right, I got your point.
excellent
I've got your
point,
point.
excellent
Well,
point,
what you
excellent.
sound like,
I mean, sorry, IC3. He
oh,
just what he did. He just actually um gave the details of what I said earlier, but he actually went into it. He went
Yeah,
into
very
details.
well,
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah,
So
I'll
I'd like to
ramble a
challenge
little
him.
bit, so I hope
I'd
y'all will
like to
understand
challenge him.
no,
what I'm
well,
saying.
it's great, excellent, excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
very good, very good. But I'd like to challenge him,
Yeah.
and I'd like to say that what
Right.
everything he said sounded very good and was well put together. But I suspect that if you organize yourself to be able to export more, then you are destroying yourself because you're trying to fit in to what the other people want. So therefore, you destroy yourself. You
Okay, so
actually.
I
Do
see
you
what you're
understand
saying.
what
So
I'm saying?
can I address that?
Go on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
that that
basically
would that would
that also is so also the market, right? And even with this foreign exchange issue, right? Us buying rice, for example, in West Africa, we all eat rice in the region, right? So that's one item we shouldn't be importing from a Thailand, for example. So now we're able,
no.
so if we're able to have a regional economy and grow and process our own rice and rice products, then at that point, one, we save foreign exchange to where we can spend that on more sophisticated things that we don't have at the moment, like certain machinery from the outside to create, our markets, our domestic like manufacturing or our regional manufacturing. And then on the other end, um we're still being able to cultivate a market, an internal regional market amongst ourselves for certain things that we know that we can provide for one another and that we all consume within the region. So it's not just like a one-sided thing. It has a cascading effect, you know
Yeah, I mean,
if you
is
have
it
the
two
right,
ways? Is it two-way
yeah.
street? Is a two-way street. But I think also we should make sure we produce enough, for the local consumption. Then the surplus, then we can export that, and add the service economy in it. Like diversify the entire economy. And Africa have the potential to do that because we have, the world's second most arable land. We have 30% of the world mineral resources, as a continent, and also we have, in the continent for energy, and stuff like that. So as you said, in terms of the regional um, thing with the ECOWAS, look how when the ECOWAS passport came out, like people like your people from Guinea can go to Sierra Leone, can go to like Liberia, can travel to any Nigeria, to any West African country. Can you imagine having the same, that will travel around the region? It will work perfectly well because we never had problem with the ECOWAS passport since it was created. So
Okay.
they saw that and they thought, what, let's block the money because the passport was the first thing. The currency was to come next. Then obviously we have at the moment we have even the power grids that some of our countries use come from Ivory Coast, and they are currently connecting a lot of the power grids anyway, from one country to another. Because flex up, you people in Guinea, have more electricity than us in Sierra Leone. And if you, for example, like the borders to Guinea, I don't know if they're doing it, it can actually share the grid to some regions in Sierra Leone that will help them, lighten up their villages or their towns, stuff. We need to connect the region by doing
Okay.
that
Okay.
also.
So I listened to what you're saying. So what you're saying, are you telling me that those in government, they can't understand, they don't know that the thing that you said, is it because of ignorance or is there something else? Is it that you two are more
No,
intelligent? What's
it's
going on?
it's power, right? As you mentioned earlier, right? If you think of a country as a select group of people running a show like this channel, you have different people with different interests. So I think the most competent people need to get paid back the money. And I've noticed this when you work with other people, things start to fall apart unless you guys are on the same code. So ultimately, I think there's a bunch of people competing interest, and the most competent, let's say morally, uh, good people, they realize that look, if they do it in this whole kumbaya method, they're going to lose money, and it's very difficult to work with people. So I think competent people are tired of incurring losses, so they're just participating in the system as it is.
Ah, interesting angle. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like a
And
mafia in each country. That's pretty much what it is.
yes,
And also, even if the incumbent mafia loses, I mean, even if the incumbent mafia loses, basically whoever ends up coming to power wants to keep pretty much the same architecture because they can be the new mafia. So it's really just that cycle, and really like clearing everything out and having more of a regional approach would bring greater prosperity for everybody, but at the detriment of just a few people in each country, pretty
Yeah,
much. So
yeah,
yeah,
true. And also,
that's
let
really
me
what
let
it
me
is.
clarify a couple of statements that Flexed up fleetingly mentioned about the value of a currency. Okay, so obviously, to get to the guys listening, currency value does not mean currency is higher value than a dollar. That's not really the point here. I know how that can sound, but let's say Japanese yen, I don't know what it is, but if it's like 1,000 yen is like $1, that doesn't mean that the yen is a weaker currency. It doesn't work quite like that. It's more of how did the yen become that weak? Did it negatively affect the investors and the people that save money in the yen, as opposed to what's the actual current value right now? So the so-called direct, looking at $1 is 500. That isn't quite accurate measure of currency. Yes, there is a story there, right? Because how did the naira start from stronger than a dollar to much weaker than a dollar? That's true.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at the currency strength, it's not really good to look at just the current market value. What matters is your currency acceptable as a payment system in other countries? Or is your currency highly sought after? For example, let's say if you become highly productive, highly industrialized nation, people have to now buy your currency and exchange into your currency. That's when your currency is strong because it's it's in high demand. It's not the raw numbers, but it's the demand of your currency. That's the real value of a currency.
Yep. Yep. Nailed it. You nailed it.
Right. So how is that measured then? So let's explore this. So currency value compared to other currencies. So you're saying, how do you measure this other
The
value then that you're talking about? Is it another value, or what's
Okay, so yen,
the
for
value that you
example,
discussed? How do you
yen
do
is
that?
actually one of the strongest currencies, even though, if you compare the direct, comparison between dollar, it's not that strong. It looks like, I don't know, it's like 1,000 yen to a dollar. Someone can just research it. I don't know the exact amount, but it's not low. But the yen is highly sought after. That's the thing. People actually trade in yen. It's how valuable your currency is, as people can they use as a placeholder. If I'm from India, would I feel safe holding the yen, and can I recuperate products in yen in the future at a later date? It's the whole ability for you to hold the currency and sorry, for other people to hold your currency and feel safe in that currency. So
Oh,
stability and also export value as well. Even the Chinese yuan is a strong currency just because the fact that they have so much product. Because you can always buy products if you hold the yuan, but you can not buy any products if you hold Kenyan shilling, because we don't produce anything of value in the international market.
right. Production.
by sorry,
Okay.
and you are right. You are right. Here in Germany, the Turkish lira is also very strong. You can buy your Turkish. The Turkish people come here and they go to supermarket
And
and they
and
pay their lira. Yeah, they don't
and
even
Oh,
Kaiser,
exchange.
and
They
also
just pay
Yeah,
like this.
because
Yeah,
Turkey is industrialized. They
yes.
that's the
yeah.
difference.
Yeah, he's right. And Kaiser, also what you gotta remember is one thing that hold in control of the global market is one thing that we call the speculation. Where in the city of London that speculate on a lot of goods, like the value of goods today, they shouldn't be doing that. We should be the people that speculating on goods because most of them and they speculate on it's actually our goods like the gold, the diamond, the uraniums and like a lot of this agricultural product. I mean, it can goes all the way to the price of a bag of rice, right? So we should hold that power, because that's where the control is. Once your goods is being speculated by outsiders, then you struggle, even though you actually are producing, the stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. So, are you
And
saying
I
then
thought,
the
that?
speculation market is in London, and we know that's a world financial market, for the South Sakel in Europe. And like
So based
cocoa.
on what you're saying, the
Yeah.
Africans should be the best speculators because they can see the raw goods going out. So
Yes, and it's their goods that's been speculated on every day.
interesting.
Kaiser, you were not there, and but you have not answered my question.
It's
I
going to find
posted
the
a
answer. It's
question,
coming
but
back. Guys
Repeat
is
your
gonna look
question
for
and
the
I'll
answer.
answer it.
yeah, I was asking you why you does the Kenyans and does the Tanzanians and does the Ugandas
All
cannot.
right.
What is stopping you to have one currency, man?
Simple, man. The other currencies are weak. We don't want to integrate them into our economy. We don't trust them.
All right.
Why not?
What do you think about the speculating and the speculating on our goods?
Or for us to speculate on our own goods. I didn't understand.
Yeah, yeah. To the prices of our goods to be controlled by African instead of being controlled in London.
Oh, yeah, I agree. But here's the thing: we gotta create. Okay, so far there's only a couple countries. I think it's like Egypt, South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, that actually have a a valid market, like stock exchange. So what we need to do is we need to unify African stock exchanges so that they're actually we have to unify them. Right now we can't compete individually. So once we unify the stock exchange
No,
markets, we can actually be able to start setting our own prices for the goods instead of just using like London market basis.
How do you
brilliant point.
unify
Well,
a market?
it's all coming to trust. That is the
Key
thing.
people, man. Yeah. Okay, so good question. It okay, most of our countries are what we call free-ish market democracies, right? Like America and whatever, right? We followed a lot of their models. So what that means is the only way to unify the markets is to leverage the really good businessmen, right? I'm talking about the rich ones. People like Dangote have to be in bed with this new business market. All the millionaires, all the big businesses have to join this new stock exchange and utilize that system for setting prices. Ultimately, the monopolies have to unify and agree on the price on the market basis. And for that to happen, right, they have to work with the governments. The government themselves can't set the prices because most of these countries have like big monopoly cartels. Like Dangote Group is a simple example. So yeah, you'd have to negotiate. These rich businessmen have to negotiate a deal that values them.
Hmm.
Yo,
Most
can I
Excellent.
ask a question?
Good response.
Go
Yeah, you're
ahead.
gone.
Yo, how do you feel about um so for example, right? Like let's say we have these regional, economies. How do you feel about having tax havens in these regional blocks, for example? So let's say like for a ECOWAS, maybe it's like a Cabo Verde or something. Like how do you feel about that? And what do you think how do you think that kind of relates to this conversation? Or does it have any
Oh, that's
correlation?
quite
Oh, brilliant,
that's
brilliant
that's
question.
quite controversial. That one, very controversial.
Yeah, but it's right on there.
Uh,
It's right on there.
uh,
Yes, because
for me,
that's
I
where
would
the real
definitely look.
power is.
Because I'm
That's
looking, I'm looking at Switzerland, and I'm seeing like how now I feel
yeah.
like Switzerland's neutrality has been kind of kind of like broken down, especially due to you know uh it having to basically like be less a little bit more transparent with certain
Yeah,
regulators, so now they have to share certain information with certain authorities. I forgot which organizations in particular, but you have that, and then also you have so that's a problem. So I'm like, well, I feel as though Africans, we need to play the game a little bit more.
That's
So I
right.
think that setting up, basically using the corruption against themselves, like you kind of just got to be like, okay, well, come and park your money here. That gives us all the foreign exchange we need. We set up the proper banks, make it the most, just most corrupt lockdown. Like you can't get any information from an African bank, and
Yeah.
just allowed their elites to bank with you for a little bit.
Right, right. Yeah,
Like
the
Yeah, but
conversation, the
that's the case.
conversation is it's definitely that has to come into it. Tax
Yeah,
havens.
but we'll have to if we
Uh,
sorry guys.
and I
We
know it's
can't have that
easier said than
conversation.
done, right? But
I know, I
Yeah,
know.
but we can't have that conversation on live because
That's
oh,
money
my
right.
bad.
laundering. We'll get hit, brother Floyd. Money
Allegedly,
laundering.
allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You see, so the same thing. See, Kaiser's doing his statesmanship. You see, statesmanship. Yeah. So it's like he's running a nation here. When you're running a nation or running a state, right? You have to be in good terms with other states. That's where you have diplomats and diplomacy, and you got to be perceived. So it's the same thing as running the government.
I just feel like
Yeah,
since we're
Kaiser is
already being
freedom of
corrupt, we
speech,
might as well,
brother.
benefit. You know.
All I'm saying, flexed
no,
up.
it's
That's
true.
why Nairobi developed so fast because of certain pirates and certain money coming into certain regions. That's all I'm gonna say.
Interesting. But it is in Kenya, and they doing all right actually when it come to exporting agricultural stuff, because in the UK a lot of
Hazel,
our
even
supermarkets.
this country, Mauritius,
Yes,
and
exactly. That's a
this
tax haven.
the
Yep.
other one, the other smaller one. That's what they do. Those are
Yep.
safe haven.
Yep. Safe haven.
Yeah,
The only problem is on YouTube, they will hit us with the money laundering strike.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my God!
Right. Because that's
Safe.
yeah,
what all that. Yeah, yeah, they'll hit us with that because they'll be like, "Oh, you're promoting,
That's right.
yeah, certain things." No, but flexed up. That is a very interesting idea, right? All I can say is, Kenya tried it and it did work for them with the certain pirates from a certain region. They allowed the money to just flow in. They allowed the investors to buy legitimately, and they didn't come for them because they realized, hey, hang on, this millions and millions, like 500 million pounds came in just within 10 years. That's a lot of money to get foreign exchange.
Food for thought.
right,
Uh,
Yo,
right.
but you
But
know what's funny? Like, I feel as though we can get away with this more, like, because we have I guess what would be the opposite of the moral high ground, like the immoral low ground. Like we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
that,
you're
like
right.
we have
We're already
that
so
image of
corrupt, right?
corruption,
Apparently, so we already
and it's
got
like
corrupt
we're
systems.
poor, so we could be like, oh, okay, it's socially okay. Oh, it sucks, it's corrupt, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm just
No,
thinking
you're
about it.
right. No, it's a good. It's actually it's very high IQ, right? Utilize. Okay, if you already know that this is part of our spirit and operational format, why try fight it so much when you can actually use the dark side in your favor sometimes? I 100% see where you're coming from. Definitely 100% see where you're
yeah,
coming from.
no, great point. I mean, yeah, Flex Up did inject a great. But the reality is, as I said in the first time I ever entered the show, until we actually take control of our resources and stop exporting raw material, and just build a cartel, nothing will change. We will still be in the same situation. And that thing that happened in Congo, maybe that's another, further drift of where we want to go, because it's going to set us way back again. You know, we just need to
Mhm.
be more proactive in terms of enlightening our people in the continent, because one of those average man out there probably could be the prime minister or the president one day. But I think we need more of the people from the diaspora that have been exposed to these things to actually go back and rule the countries. Yeah. But until that happened, I think that's what happened with the Chinese. There's a lot of the people from the diaspora went back, and that happened also with the Indian. A lot of them went back to India to build their country because they've been exposed to what's going on outside. And I think it's happening. It's happening slowly, but we'll see what happens, in the next probably 100 years.
Yeah.
Because right now it's a future, we order, right? That's me. Part of my principle and what we believe in is always looking forward
Mhm.
and also looking where you stand. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying racial tax havens. Yeah, Mr. IC3, what happened to you? Did your parole officer get you or something? You escaped from prison and they found you like
That's that London signal, you know. Signal is working, bro.
ah nah man. Oh, are you in Bristol now or Wales?
No, I'm in Bristol, man. I'm in Bristol still. I was there when they brought Colston down, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I was right
No,
there,
I
man.
used to I used to live in Swansea for a bit.
Yeah, Swansea is nice. It's all right still. I
Yeah.
go there like twice a week. I go there twice a week. And there's a couple of aluminium companies up there. You know, they got the Tata over there as well in
Yeah,
Port
yeah, yeah. Actually, I used to
Port
work with
Carlton.
Tata at
Did
that
you?
time when I was there.
Okay. Ah,
Yeah, I mean, look, that company. That's what I'm trying to say. The Indians somehow managed to break the game, right? They managed to industrialize, man. Like Tata Steel is one of the biggest companies in the world for for steel technology, man. It's crazy.
and
I think they
and
also have
Liberty.
Tata Motors. They've got so
Right.
many companies.
That's
Even
what they
the, you know,
did.
the Mhm.
Al, did you
Yeah.
just say you are now in Bristol?
Yes, I'm speaking from Bristol. Yes,
Ah,
and there are a
my
lot of
brother
there are a lot
lives
of your
in
brothers
Bristol.
out there, man.
My
Yes, a lot
brother
of your
lives. Oh,
brothers out
look,
there.
look. This is what I want to also contribute. That brother of mine who used to, oh, yeah, he still lives in Bristol, but he's doing also business in Somalia. That
Yes,
guy just came with an idea. He found that because of the climate change, because of the drought, people need,
yes,
or the camel herders need so many grasses, and he established a
yes,
company. Guess what? He's buying grasses from Indonesia and Malaysia. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was asking him, why can't you just buy from Uganda? Why are you going all the way to Indonesia and Malaysia? What's wrong with you?
yeah,
You buy
yes,
from your green countries here in Africa. And he said, okay, I love it, but what is it called? The roads, the transportation is like crazy. You
yeah.
cannot just have
See,
anything from, yeah. So maybe
this is
when
what
we are talking about the regional um, economy,
connecting the
guys, we
regions.
should
Yeah,
build our roads, man.
Regional infrastructure.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we should
yeah.
build our
Absolutely.
roads. Why this Bristol
Yes,
guy who was an Uber driver and he made quite a good
yeah.
money and he established his own company there
It,
and
it,
he's
it's
making
it,
a killing
it's a
there.
good city. Bristol is a really good city.
Yeah,
You know, it's the second
yeah, and he's making
outside
good money,
London. It's the
but
best place. Is
yeah,
yes,
but he is buying grass from Indonesia.
From-
While Kenya is
yeah,
right here, Uganda is right here, but he knows that it will take like years to deliver that. A ship can
yeah.
come from Indonesia and come the next week.
Yeah, it's just sad.
So
This
look
is
at
why
this,
it holds us
how
back.
crazy that we are.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy, brother.
that's
But
why I
the fact
always
is,
insist that regional cooperation is the grassroots of development of
do
Africa.
you know this Pan-African connection? Yeah, in terms of the, you know, when you look at West Africa, the Algerians been dragging their trend infrastructure, Pan-African connection. They've been doing all the work all the way near West Africa. They're waiting for the other West African country to actually connect it. You know, it's just true how
Mm.
our Sub-Saharan African are so lagged. They just go to African Union, talk crap, and the Northern brothers and us in the further down, we're not putting the work in. We're just busy eating the money, and then we turn around and blaming the people in the North. That's why they don't take us serious, bro. You know, we only talk about African Union and that, but if you look at the countries that actually putting the money in and putting the work in, you'd be shocked, bro. You know. And kind to what you said earlier with the steel industry, that is another shock. You know, if we only have like a cartel, like a billionaire in Africa that will come and buy Tata during those days, you know, that whole skill set can be transferred, you know, to the people in the continent, you know. But now Tata, since they got Tata, look at the manufacturer bases they actually got in their country. It's unbelievable.
Mm.
It's mad. But the steel industry, if you don't have steel in your country, you cannot develop your country. Take that from me. You know, Donald Trump said one thing. He said a country is nothing without aluminium. You know, If you look
That
at
is
that, if
right.
you wake up in the morning, yeah, if you wake up in the morning, the amount of aluminium, you will not wake up in the morning and go to bed. You don't touch aluminium maybe 2, 3 times, especially when we go into this green economy.
If I open my fridge, my refrigerator now, my wife cooks a
Do
week,
you know?
one time a week, and there are so many aluminiums in my fridge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's yeah. Anywhere you go, like if you touch, your car, your doors, like different things. Even the engineers, that guys are coming back. Yeah, even the engineers, yeah, and stuff like that. That's what they use heavily. They use aluminium to manufacture parts for plane, for car, for anything that you think of. We just actually
exactly.
exporting it raw, and then they're gonna refine it and sell it back to us. So like Nigeria as a country don't have that much refinery. Guinea only got one refinery. I think South Africa probably have more refineries than the other part. And probably these North African countries all got refineries. That's why we need to start with enough
I,
energy supply. If we don't have
yeah,
energy,
but
we
I
don't
think
have steel.
Angola has some industries, right? Aluminium
Yeah.
industry.
If we don't have energy and steel, we're still gonna, we're not gonna develop. These are the two things: steel and energy, energy and steel. The rest will follow, you know, because you need to build bridges, roads, you know. As Flexer was saying, if the West African countries can actually come together and build refinery in Guinea, Guinea will not be exporting their stuff back to the Chinese. So, yeah, and DG, your people in Bristol, the Somali community, they did actually done well. I was here when they moved to Bristol, you know. Now they have their own shops, they have their own schools, they have their own community, you know.
Yeah, they are doing great. Yeah, they're
Yeah, they
doing
hard
great. My
working
brother
people, man.
just he went back home and he's doing good job. He actually um saved a lot of camels and a lot of cows over there because he was exporting grass from outside, and he also made good money about that. So it was a great idea. But I wish he could buy this from Congo or uh, or Uganda or Kenya or even Ethiopia. But because we don't have these regional corporations, that's why the money is going to somewhere else. Yeah.
UFC, how many refineries do you have in Nigeria right now?
Uh,
Uh, we have four, and two is currently being built by the two richest men in Nigeria.
Okay, that's
One
good. That's
one
good.
we refined 600,000 barrel of crude oil a day, and the other one will refine 300,000 barrel of crude a day.
Yes. But you need to tackle the oil theft in Nigeria there, because
Sure, that
what
is
I
being
see,
done. The thing is that when you
yeah,
look
I
at
know it's a
Nigeria,
crackdown.
it is Nigeria that is setting the country backward, not the because we're not going to blame the European for this. It is Nigerians that are doing all the theft there.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not the
Yeah, I seen that
European.
they're sabotaging the pipelines, and it's
Yeah,
causing a lot of environmental disaster for the locals and the villages,
yeah.
that have nothing to do with oil. These average people in the refit from the oil, and then they bust in the pipelines, and it's going into the environment, and it's sad. I feel sorry for those people in the region actually, because they've been sucked out of their own region. The oil is coming out, but also probably the locals are doing it on behalf of politicians or local. Well, I think the current government is tackling that anyway, which is a good thing.
Yeah, but okay, I think what really happened with the refinery? You guys were out here telling us it's coming, and it never came.
so
So yeah, what went wrong?
Mm.
wait, what they are doing test running, but fully operational. Just the fertilizer department that's currently working, but the crude is not yet working. They are doing the test running.
Really?
Yeah.
So are you sure you're not
because
lying? Because yeah, go ahead.
Now, see if see, Kezu, when
because
you see when you see it, you can check it on video. When you see the structure, it's already been built. They are doing the electrical work and just check it online. On YouTube. The full complex on YouTube. You can check it. It's There's no major work there. You can
yeah,
check
but
it.
first of all, Flex Up,
They are
thank
not,
you, Flex Up, thank you
everything
for
has
coming
been
up, man. That was a great contribution. No, I'm just gonna give it for coming up. That was a great contribution. You know, you added on. Great IQ, brother. But yeah, Kaizo, the refinery that they building in Nigeria, I think it's very sophisticated. The Dangote one, I think it will produce the PMS 45 different product like hydraulic and diesel, gas, that. So I think there's more good to come
You
behind
you
it.
think that guy will just spend $20 billion and waste it? No, it's not going to just waste $20 billion like that. No.
Ah, okay, I see, I see. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So
It's
what's
time.
gonna happen? Yeah.
Yeah, the cost of building that refinery costs $20 billion, so it's not going to just waste that money.
Are you sure? Because this has happened before in the past, right? Where unfortunately things didn't come to fruition
Okay, no,
with the
those are
fuel
90.
mine. Because
See, if you
yeah,
have always say government should not involve in anything, those are government projects. They normal because sometimes when new government comes in, they will just abandon the past government projects. That's what not because if you go through Nigeria, we have 11,000 uncompleted projects in Nigeria.
right.
11,000. So there are
11,000.
uncompleted projects everywhere. Yes, 11,000.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yes,
Yeah,
a
That is
lot.
I mean, it's
significant.
because Kaiser, I think is a different angle because it's coming from. He's probably got insurance over this because it's not easy to build. So I don't think he will invest that much money and risk it like that. He's a
No,
very
that guy
invest
is
a very bright guy.
when that guy involved in anything, he always he
Always
always
works,
deliver.
right?
Yeah, he always deliver.
Now look at this. Look at this. Let me read
Yeah,
that. If you guys can hear me well, right? Look at this, right? This is a
yeah,
BBC article that came out like in June, I believe. And in this section here, it says Nigeria's existing refineries have been completely shut down for over 3 years owing to oil theft, pipeline vandalism, and structural
Yep,
neglect.
yep.
What's going on?
Because
it's sad,
you
isn't
have
it?
people you have
Sad.
people working in those refinery causing the you see they budget money for maintenance and they don't spend it. They end up stealing. See, anything government, the people that is operating it, since they know okay it belongs to government, they will mishandle the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's why I always advocate for private sector run business in Nigeria. Don't involve government. People will
Yes.
not handle it with care.
Hmm.
No, I agree with UFC on his private sector mentality, and I believe that's true way to develop a country. Government relying on government to do everything, it will never, help because people will be relying on government for everything. It's that mentality, the government, but you go and help the government,
Even
go and do
Dangote wanted
something
to
about it.
buy this
We need to
refinery
start.
because of political issue. They didn't. They sold it to him for I think seven almost $1 billion, and later they canceled the another government came in. I think yes, they canceled the contract. So they pay him back. He took his money. Decided. So this was the right time to
And
build this. So it's crazy.
yeah, and also his businesses is actually, he's exporting a lot of stuff to the region as well, isn't he? He's investing in
Yeah,
other West African countries. So, and also to be honest, a lot of Nigerians are actually doing that in different countries
Hmm.
in the region, they bring in their investment in. But that just need to
no.
expand in, and
The thing
also
is
they need
that
to
Dangote. that refinery, a lot of things have been set up for him so he can the thing can work. Even a new this thing was built. A new sea no what do you call it? Seaport, yeah, seaport, deep seaport was built. I think that seaport cost about $1.5 billion or so, and it's in operation now.
Okay.
And
Oh, that's good.
I think cargo, yes, cargo rail also. With the past government just built cargo rail through the port so that you can, when goods arrive, you can put it in the cargo rail and
Right.
yeah. So a lot of things are being
Yes,
done.
that's a land port, isn't it? That stuff from the south to the north. Is that is that the one, UFC?
You said?
Is that the land port that they built to transport goods to the north,
Yeah, there's a
like
dry inland
railways?
port in Kaduna, and yes, then
Okay.
I think they recently built one in Ibadan. I think
Yeah.
see what Lagos is always there's always traffic because of the port. So what the government decided to do now, they built a cargo rail so that when the goods
Okay.
arrive in Lagos, you just take it through the cargo rail to Ibadan. You understand
Right.
me?
Okay. I got you.
So truck.
Yes, I got
So
you.
instead of most of the truck coming to Lagos to clear their goods, they will just go straight to Ibadan to do that to reduce traffic in
That's
Lagos.
yes. That make a lot of sense. That's I mean the southwest is in general is is a market hub, isn't it? Is Nigeria basically market zone when you think about it. Because of the port.
Yeah.
And
It-
the government should do more. I know they're already doing do more to
yeah.
invest
Let
more
us
in
see.
transportation.
Many
Mm.
people, many Nigerians didn't like the past president, but the reason why I like the guy is that he focused on
Yeah,
infrastructure. And me, I'm part of the Nigerians who have been crying for infrastructures because that's what we need
yes,
mostly. Instead of just
absolutely.
because you know
Without
what we
that, you
have been
don't have
doing, eh? We have just
no.
been making money, eh?
Yeah,
Then you see they will just spread the money across themselves. Then the economic will just you see they will be dropping a common economic number 6% growth, 6% growth. But you
yes.
as a citizen, you don't even feel anything.
You don't see anything on the ground, but infrastructure
Thank
is
you.
one thing that can visibly. I mean, without infrastructure, we don't have a country. Nobody will come in there to invest. When we talk about government, this is where we need the government to come in, like create the railways, the roads, and then also later on, if you have the grid, like the railway grids, for example, all over the country, you can have even private companies that will come and set up their own railway companies because they got a grid to run on, and these companies
Yep.
can actually pay the government to use their grids goes with everything else, so
See,
that's
if we are
yeah.
smart, there should be a high-speed railway from Nigeria to Accra. No, from Lagos to Accra, Ghana. But you see, we are not building anything at all. We are not doing anything. Just imagine a high-speed train
I-
from Lagos to Accra. That's another good project.
yes,
But you see,
and Ghana and Nigeria, they don't get on. I don't know why, they should. And it's funny how they actually both English speaking countries, but there's some beef between you guys, isn't it?
the problem is that Ghana just I don't know if because they got independence like a year or 2 years before us, so they always feel like deep down like they are our elder brothers and we are the we are the younger brother.
But I think they're a bit jealous of Nigeria, if I'm honest with you, and that's the reality. Ghana, they thought they was going to be the super East West Africa, because based
See,
on happen, but they couldn't do it because they don't have the population and the means to do it. And
but
Nigeria,
one thing about Ghana, I think corruption is more
yes,
lower
that's
in
because
Ghana
of
than in Nigeria. It's too high in Nigeria.
that's Jerry Rollins that done. He changed that country corruption. He actually used to put them in prison. He started with his own uncle or something. He made sure these guys. don't, and I think he left that legacy, which is good. That's why, no, you're right. Ghana have less corruption than Nigeria, and I think Nigeria need to stamp hard on corruption. That's what Tinubu need to, you need to do that right now before it's too late, because there are a lot of corrupt politicians in Nigeria. It's well
So
known.
let me tell you what. See, the reason why I support the current government is you. In Lagos, there were issue of ghost worker in their public sector. When the guy came into power, they decided to introduce technology. So as we speak now, there's no they don't have issue of ghost worker in Lagos
That's the reason why he won
because
the ticket. Because
they automate everything there.
yes, his legacy in Lagos made him won the election, won the ticket for APC.
Yeah, that's why
That's the
most
reason,
people, most
and that's
business people
that's
support
one
him.
of yeah, that's one of the reasons. That's what people don't understand. But also, he's very connected to the North, and he's loved and respected in the North. So
Yeah,
having
yeah,
all those ever, you cannot fail. So he have an advantage of anybody else, including his own brother Atiku. That you know what I mean. So the reality is, he just needs to focus on the work that he's been elected to do, and forget about all the noise and just make sure he can change people's life on the ground. Once they can see changes, always remain his supporters. People that don't like him
uh,
will never
Al,
appreciate it anyway,
Al,
no matter what you do for them.
Al,
Yeah,
let me tell you something. Let me tell you the truth. Buhari government, the mistake Buhari make, his
yeah,
media aid were too incompetent. Let me say this. That guy
yes,
did a lot
very
of
true.
things.
Yeah,
But because of the kind of
yeah,
media aid the man had, they
yeah,
didn't because he appointed some older people who are not in touch with the current reality.
yes,
So they messed up. But the good thing about this man, the current president, if you go and look at the people he's speaking, young people, some of the
yeah,
ministers are in their 30s. Yeah.
yeah,
The people he picked to handle the media and social media activity, they are young people.
yes.
So they don't want to be
No,
left behind. So that anything that's been because young people are very active, so they know how to dispatch and spread news. So he's
yes.
the guy is smart, yeah, very very smart,
Is
and he's
media savvy. Is a media. You know what he's doing,
yeah, the
and
media savvy. You are right because
yeah, yeah,
he own a TV station in Lagos.
yes. He's already planned. The man already planned his journey. He's someone that's
Yeah,
want to rule.
yeah.
He
He
want to
said
be.
when he won, he said
He
I've
know
been
what he
planning this.
wants.
He said I've been planning this journey for the past 30 years.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And when you think about it, Nigeria should be the leader of the continent, and I think it will take a couple of generation for it to come to reality, in general, that I mean, including the Northern African countries I'm talking about. But it will happen. But that's when we have all the regional countries. But at the moment, we have Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger that just signed a pact, to say anyone that invade them, blah. These guys are lost, bro. Honestly, these guys, I don't know what they're up to, but they just
See,
they
hold
cannot
on. Let
manage
me tell
their
you something.
state, and
Oh,
they want to cause chaos in the region.
let me tell you something. If they don't pay attention to economy, the honeymoon will be over soon. Let them continue to be fooling themselves. If they don't
They,
pay attention to the economy, if the people get hungry, they will turn to the food. So let's watch and see what they can do
because
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 talk is
Kaiser
cheap.
pointed out, yes, yeah, because Kaiser pointed out yesterday, the uranium is owned by the that already bought the place. So what are people actually going jumping up and down about? Until they get rid of that, they make sure they can take that back into their hand, and also remove, their base and stuff like that. People shouldn't be out there clapping
Let
because
me tell
nothing
you
has
what is
changed.
let me tell you what is stopping France now. Let me tell you, the greatest
Yeah.
enemy now to the Western society is social media. Because right now, most of this country they cannot carry out
Yeah.
any stupid thing there because everyone have phones in their hands. They will record things and post, and it will look good.
No, but
So that's
The
why,
French need to leave Africa though for good. They need to
of
go.
course, they
But
need to.
the way to get rid of them, the way to get rid of them, we have to do it right. There's no point getting rid of one enemy and bringing another enemy in because they know you're
That's what I
vulnerable.
see. Thank you. That's what I don't like. See, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
For me, in my view, Russia is part of the West. I don't separate Russia from the West. They are part of it. Whatever, because we look at it, they are also Caucasian, or should I call, I don't know what to call Europeans. So whatever they do, it
Ru-
benefits all of them.
UFC, UFC.
Yeah,
We have a very bad legacy that we're living in the UK right now, which we call Brexit, right? Do you know
yeah,
who sponsored Brexit? Russia.
Russia. Okay, yeah,
Before the Russian war, do you know the money that come into the London market was from Russia? The Russian
you
oligarchs,
see,
yeah,
yeah,
they the one that was
and they have
bringing
a lot of
money into,
money.
yes, and because the UK was like a safe haven for them, just like what Flexup was saying earlier. They was coming here, hardly checked, very close to the UK politician, buying them position, putting them in place, know how to run this thing. The biggest trolling platform in the world, where you get a lot of races and monkey chat and stuff like that, all these abuses is coming from Russia. Yeah.
Yeah,
In fact, Wagner, before Wagner come to your country, you know what they do? They will go online and troll the entire country against the leader. Yeah, and spread that propaganda. So when
yeah,
they
they are
do
very
that, they
good
know
at
the
that.
people don't like it. Yeah, because they own one of the biggest trolling platform and mining. They own a mining and trolling and weapons. And you know what I mean? If you look at the way they set up, they set up to cause chaos, you know,
If you look
and
at it,
these are the set,
that's why
you know.
that's why I respect China. China, they didn't allow all the social media in their country. They decided to create their own. So to protect their people against Western powers and activity. But in Africa, we consume everything. So our leaders, they have no power to do or to block or to stop anything. So
And also in Nigeria, one thing that Tinubu really need to do now before it's too late, you need to bring a new law to media in Nigeria.
you need to
When
do
you look
what?
at the social media, you need to bring new laws to actually, on hate crimes and stuff like that in the social media.
Yep,
Always try
I agree
to
with you.
big up because it is injecting poison in people's mind, and that's no good.
I agree with you. The thing is that if you see the people that polarize the country currently, we because I'm not going to link it to Obi. No, Obi is not part of it, but it is
I
the
think he's a good
former,
man.
no, hold on, those that were supporting, those that were part of IPOP
Oh
before,
yeah,
they
some of his
suddenly
supporters
joined.
are biased.
Yeah, some of the, yes, they
Yeah,
were so they are very good in propaganda, so they joined this thing and polarized everywhere.
mad. And this is this lack of patriotism in the country,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
there's
causing
lack
all the
of it.
issues that we're talking about.
The thing is
Yeah,
that all
and that's why
all they
people,
see,
missionaries can enter in, missionaries can come in, and they see, they will take the advantage of it.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if we
most
don't, like I mentioned earlier, right, it's really our fault, right? Because we're the ones setting up the standard. Unless we can actually fix this issue from inside, it's gonna keep happening, man. Because as Abby mentioned earlier, maybe we fear that they'll bring less money because they can leverage that and be like, well, okay, if you give us too many, uh, you know, conditions, then we're gonna pull our money out.
okay. Let me say this. Let me because I know about Nigeria a lot. You see that last election. You know what I don't like? There's this thing going on in our current society whereby people will know the truth, but because they don't want backlash, they will be afraid to speak out and just speak the truth. If it's going to hurt
Yeah,
your feeling, fine.
yeah,
Feelings are not real. That's why
no,
right from day one, I
uh,
always say, because I've been following election, I always say the guy won the election. Even if you put gun in my head, I will say so. Because it is the truth.
outright,
He won the election. But you
yeah,
see, Many
And
people, because they don't want to face backlash, they decide to behave like pussies. Oh, sorry for using
yes,
that word. They decide
yes.
to
I
play to
mean,
the
it
gallery.
yes, it is, and that's wrong because right now people are not focusing on development; they're focusing on who won the election, and
Yeah,
the conversation, and the narrative. So that will hold the country stand still, and even this court thing that they're waiting for,
let me
they
tell you
should
something.
release it straight away.
Even some of the inner circle, like this professor, Professor Wole Soyinka, he was part of the obedience. He said it. He said in the party leadership, they knew they didn't win the election. He finally came out and said it because they
Look,
are pushing it
listen,
too much
I
now.
know, lot of people in the south did not like Jagaban. I know it's when he won the election they start obviously coming up with double talking and all that. But the reality is, the guy, I don't think Tinubu really care because he's well protected. He's elected mainly by the southwest and the north, and that's where and at the end of the day, if you don't have you don't have the approval from these two zones, it doesn't matter who elects you, you'll be very vulnerable, ruling Nigeria, and he
No, no,
have the approval from the northerners and the southwesterners, and I
yeah,
think he don't have any. Even when people were praying for him to be overthrown by the government, I cannot out because they're the one that put him in there. There's no way that's going to happen. And those that actually, have that jealousy and hatred towards him will
because
live to
if you
regret
leave
it
people
because
that
it
is
will
saying
not
it,
happen.
that would tell you they don't understand politics. People
Yeah,
that put the guy there, there's
mm,
a reason they did that. If you look at it, all the wealthy people in Nigeria, they supported the man. Immediately he won that election, he went to their house and personally, visit them personally and tell them thank you. He even went to the owner of United Bank of Africa (UBA). He went to his house.
mm,
I think there was a
yeah.
video of it when the guy was saying last man standing. Then he shake him and they were laughing and all that. This wealthy people don't have time.
He's a business politician. He want to, work with the private sectors
Yeah.
and build the country, and that's the way forward. To be honest with you, you just need to focus on doing that, and and I think this Niger coup became a big distraction, for him,
Yes, a big
and having
distraction, not
to,
gonna lie. A big
yeah,
distraction.
yeah. But that's the thing. When you rule Nigeria, you rule West Africa. Remember that at the moment, there is a pushback against Nigeria in the francophone countries, and I think there's a bit of jealousy and envious in that also,
No,
because a
but
lot of these
if you look
francophone
at it,
countries, yeah,
people were not being fair at all.
no,
Like
they're
the way
not.
Nigeria
I think, mm,
it's like, see, most of these people that are saying all these things, they won't allow military regime in their country. If you look at it, most of them live abroad. They won't allow
yeah,
because there are a lot of people in Nigeria who have left live in that such environment. You can't say anything.
yeah,
You
yeah.
can't speak.
Let me tell you, you see the coup in Guinea, you see the military coup we had in Guinea. The people already start getting fed up with him. Yeah, the reason why because they want democracy. You know, they understand the guy that was there, he was a tyrant, he was killing people. But the people in the ground, they already start telling him, listen, mate, you said you're gonna be here for this long, we want it out now. Because Guinea is a peaceful country. In fact, Guinea is the only country in Africa that actually repel invaders, time and time. You can't come there and try to take a piece of their land. They will flush you out.
How? But
Yeah,
how?
yeah,
Okay, you know about Nigeria a lot. Do you remember when
yeah,
Abacha was in power? Do you remember one activist, Ken Saro-Wiwa?
yeah. I heard of him. Yeah.
Yes, he's late now. He was
Okay.
agitating, he didn't commit any crime. But you know
Uh,
what happened to him? He was
he put him to
executed.
sleep.
Firing squad. The United
Yeah.
Nations, US, European, they all tell Abacha, no, don't do it, don't do it. He carried out
Yeah.
with the execution. So most young, should I call them Gen Z, that they are calling for military, they don't know what military can do. They will shun that social media or internet. You can't do anything.
Well,
If you
yeah, they
go
will
to
do
the
that
street, they will
easily.
shoot you down.
Yeah. The only thing we have, the only good thing about the military guy in Guinea is a bit more civilized, officer. The way he governs his people, and since he been in power, he actually have built more infrastructure, than generation
No,
that been there for
how,
8 years.
how? I get
Yeah.
it, but
Mm.
yes, the
But
guy is
but
nice, and a
still,
lot of
but
people.
still,
Uh,
but still, they always kick one another out of power in that country. There's only one
yeah,
time, or I think they say they always have, it's the one military barracks against another military barracks. This one come and
that's
take
what I'm
power for so
saying now.
long. Now,
People soon, the inner circle, they will get tired of him. They will also kick him out. It's
They,
like
they,
it's
they
like that.
already are. They're already getting tired. They want him out now. They want him to. That's the reason why I think he did not join this pack with the three Sahelian countries because it's only Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Guinea wasn't involved in it because he's probably already start feeling the heat. So, but me as a person and the job that is currently you have done so far, but I do not like military rule. That's my take on the whole situation
Yeah, same thing
in
with me. I
in the,
don't like
in the
it because I know what they
mm,
did in Nigeria. They were not,
yeah,
although they were a little bit disciplined. However, the politicians right now in Nigeria, they are not that disciplined. They misbehave.
yes, exactly. That's what you get because you have more discipline and more law and order when there's military in power. When there's no military in power, it's free for all. But at the same time, most of the people, in the bottom, that
Too
have no
much.
power are more vulnerable. Yes, so I think we need to rule if we're
Dollar
gonna move
watch.
forward because
Like,
they don't have the knowledge or the
yeah,
expertise to actually,
the current,
do the
the
things
current,
that.
uh, the current governor of Imo State, because at least I know expensive wristwatches. That
Mm,
guy, I've seen him see that guy with two different watches worth one point something $1 million. It's crazy.
that need to stop. And also, why is Wike in Abuja? That's not good enough. That could cause Tinubu a problem because if you start making noise there, the
No, no, no.
Northerners will
See,
not like it.
even if they don't like it, they need see that is a capital
Mm,
city. They have to be some certain rules. See, forget
yeah.
Northerner will not like it. BS. I don't follow that.
N-
See, this
No, I
one thing.
understand that. Yeah.
See, this why I respect Erufai. Erufai is
Okay.
one politician in the north that doesn't take nonsense. It will offend everybody. Do what is right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
You
true. Me
understand
too.
me? That's why I like Erufai. Although sometimes he like to be controversial. That's the only part I don't like some of his words. But as a competent leader, he's very, very competent.
No, he is. He is a competent guy, and he's Tinubu right hand man. And I think it's a shame that he's not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there. With
They
him.
decided to
Yeah.
sabotage his
Yeah.
ministerial
But I
screening.
think I think
Yeah,
it's I think it's his own brother do that though. His father is behind it.
yeah, they did that. I know because
Yeah,
of
Ribad stopped him.
he was the one who personally stood against Buhari's this thing is it printing of a new currency? Yeah, money exchange or something.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, and also yeah,
yeah,
no, but he's one of the guys that actually said Jagaban have to have the ticket that actually
yeah,
can
yeah. He
turn
was the
Buhari
one
and
because he
yeah,
said it was their agreement that they agree that is in
yeah,
2015 before the election that after this thing Buhari presidency will
yeah.
go to the south. That was their agreement.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
got
what he
you.
said. He said it's not going to go back like renege on that agreement that they will follow through. So that was the only thing he said, and he mobilized all the northern leaders and made sure they support Tinubu.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's a good guy, Erifai in some ways, but I find controversial about him is when he started talking about the Islamization, but I can see where he, why he said that because He say he's dancing, he's tap dancing for the outside brothers,
Yeah,
house
thank
outside.
you. Thank you.
That's
See,
what he
as
was
a
saying.
politician,
Yeah,
immediately I understand what he
politician.
was doing. As someone who know about
Yeah,
politics, I know he was just feeding red meat to.
basically thanking. He's trying to thank them for the support and
Thank
the,
you,
what
thank you.
they've done.
That's what he was
Yeah,
doing. But
yeah, yeah,
Nigerians, we
yeah.
like to speak loud and cry over non-issue.
Yes. And it's a distraction. But we're not gonna have any more coup in West Africa, man. Most of the English coup, we don't want that because we already been through them days. This
No,
new
no.
French,
Let me
but
tell you
yeah,
something. Any country that their president is on the seat more than 10 years, if there's coup in that country, I'm okay with it. It's not your father's property or
yes,
inheritance.
like the one in Guinea, like the one in you have seen, like the one in Guinea, the after third term, yeah, and this Dumbuya guy. Let me tell you one thing. You see Dumbuya in Guinea. He was he was in the French Legionnaire. Yeah. He was part of the French Legion. He went to Afghanistan twice. You know that guy. He fought in Afghanistan. He went to University of War or something like that. So you know how the
Wow.
French Legionnaires are. They never leave their body behind when they're on a war front, right?
Hmm.
And he came back and to France. He had enough because the system, the people that he went to fight for, he was treating him like joke, yeah. And his wife is French, she's a gendarmerie in France. So and anyway, and Alpha Conde, yeah,